All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell. Episode 238 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us as we have another fun-filled, jam-packed show, guys, because we have a lot to get to. We are in the thick of things when it comes to the NFL season. We are in the thick of things when it comes to the Chiefs season in particular, which is what we're going to be unpacking all day in today's episode. If you've not already done it, guys, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Go to YouTube, The Spoken Podcast. Hit subscribe, hit the notification button. Most importantly, get in the chat today, guys, because every single week we have a segment where we dedicate to you guys called Speak It, where we give you guys the platform, the opportunity to be heard, to get your questions, to get your concerns in there, guys. And I know that you guys have a bunch of both, so go ahead and get those takes in there, guys. It's been incredible over these last several weeks since we started doing this, right before the NFL season kicked off. And it was great timing because you guys have absolutely brought it. We've had a lot of regulars. It feels like Cheers sometimes, sure. We have Norm walking in the door every single episode. But there's a lot of new people that walk in as well. And we really appreciate both of you guys. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies about us, guys, because we want everybody to be a part of this, and we appreciate all of you guys. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this time because we have a lot to get to, guys. We have a fun, one of my favorite people in the Chiefs community, somebody that's not been on the show yet, and in fact, it's historic here, Trevor, and this is something I'm really excited to announce. It's the first lady that's ever been on our show as a guest on the show. We've had some people in the past that have been a part of the show, but this is our first guest. I'm really excited to let you guys know that Kingdom Cast's own KYLIE WINFREY, someone I respect very much, abundantly. Her and her husband, Nick, are great people. She's going to be joining us today, guys, to talk a little bit of Chiefs with us, man, because she has some really good opinions I very much respect, and we're really happy and very fortunate to have her on the show in about an hour's time. So strap in, guys, get ready. And if you guys have some questions for her, I'm sure she wouldn't mind answering a few of them as she's with us today in the show. But, Trevor, I want to start with something, man, because, you know, we have a great team here in Kansas City. The Chiefs are a great team. In my opinion, they are the best team in the AFC. They have the best defense in the AFC, and I've been telling you guys this now for over a month, and no one wanted to listen to me. People were saying it was the Browns, it was the Bills, it was these other defenses, and those are respectable defenses. And I feel bad for the Bills because the Bills have just had an absolute shit luck this year, dude, with injuries. It's horrible to watch, and I really mean that. I know people think that it's disingenuous or you're just saying it to say, no, I hate that. Because you know these guys have to carry that into their personal lives. It isn't just on the field. They leave those injuries there. We know this affects their personal lives as well, and I hate seeing injuries. So it sucks to see that for the Bills and Bills fans. But there are some other good defenses out there in the AFC. None of them are better than this Chiefs defense. As I told Trevor and as I told Von Booker, former Chief, on our Chatting Up the Chiefs postgame show this last Thursday night, I said, I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but the Chiefs lead the AFC. The Chiefs defense leads the AFC in shutout quarters, which means they do not let a team score for an entire quarter, with 12. The second closest is the Bills, the Ravens, and the Texans with 9. Think about that. And it isn't just because of the fact that the Chiefs are shutting out teams for quarters at a time. The Chiefs have faced some very good quarterbacks this season. Even Russell Wilson. We talk about him, we shit on him whenever we get an opportunity to because he's a Broncos quarterback and it's fun to do that. But all seriousness, he hasn't had a terrible season like he did just a year ago. He is playing better football. We have to give him that credit. Going into that Thursday game, Russell Wilson had I think it was the fifth or sixth highest quarterback rating in the entire NFL with a 106 quarterback rating. He left that game against the Chiefs with a 44 quarterback rating. He came into the game with two total interceptions in 5 games. He had 2 against the Chiefs. He doubled his interception total in one game with the Chiefs. In fact, it didn't take all 4 quarters, Trevor. He threw his second interception halfway through the third quarter. And this was Nick Bolton's first game back. You saw some rust. He missed a tackle early in the game. But you know what else he did? He got himself a pick. You're seeing the depth of this defense. They've even admitted that they've had to find snaps for certain guys in this team, and these are awesome players. Like Drew Tranquill, they were trying to give him snaps in this game. They're too deep at some positions. This defense is elite. And outside of the 49ers, I don't know if there's a better defense in the NFL than them right now. I don't know. You can make the argument that, because I think the 49ers probably have the best overall defense in the league. To do what they did against the Cowboys is stupid. Tampa Bay is good. Buffalo's good. Like I said, Cleveland, really good defense. Yeah. The Seahawks have a very underrated defense. They have, maybe outside of the Chiefs, the best cornerback duo in the league. It's insane, man. So there's other respectable defenses out there, but I'm giving the Chiefs all the flowers here, guys. They have earned that respect, and I've been saying it for weeks, and I think that people are finally starting to build onto that and say, you know what, yeah, I think this is the best defense in the AFC. And it's showing, guys. They held this Broncos offense, who's been playing, like I said, pretty well. They haven't been a bad offense by any means this season, to 8 points. And it took a horrendous Mike Edwards penalty that was complete shit to get them into scoring range, and it took Cortland Sutton to have the catch of his career for them to even score at all.
So far this year, the Broncos have scored on every opening drive.
Exactly.
The only time they didn't was against us.
And the Chiefs shut them down all game long. Russell Wilson had the worst game of his Broncos career, and that's saying something, because if you watched football last year, he was horrendous every game. Except maybe the Chiefs game when they were up 27-0 and he started playing good football. The point remains, guys, we're giving them all the praise in the world. And I'm going to take it a step further. I just told Trevor this before the show. I did not talk to him about this before, maybe 5 minutes before we went live. This is the best team in the Mahomes era. This is. It is the best team in the Patrick Mahomes era. And yes, it's primarily because of this defense. Because this is, without question, the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has ever had. I would say, despite Juwan Taylor's penalty struggles and Donovan Smith being good but not great, this is the best offensive line Patrick Mahomes has ever had. This team, as constructed, can win the Super Bowl. That is not breaking news.
Do you believe in these wide receivers?
Hold on. But through 6 weeks, we have seen an offense that struggles to not only score touchdowns, we're seeing them struggle to score touchdowns in the red zone, which is something they have been elite at a lot of times, including just last season. From an historical sense, the Chiefs have been insanely great at scoring in the red zone since 2018. Let me show you. Red zone touchdown percentage by year, Trevor. 2018, the Chiefs were first in the NFL. 2019, they were 10th. But that's because Patrick Mahomes missed 2.5 games to an injury. 2020, surprisingly, they finished 16th, which is dead in the middle of the NFL. Very average, but I'll get to that in a second as well. 2021, despite their really slow start as a team, as a collective, mostly on the defensive side, they were still scoring points. They were 10th overall in scoring red zone and scoring touchdown percentage from the red zone. And then last season, losing Tyreek Hill in the offseason, the Chiefs still finished first in red zone touchdown percentage. So with or without Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs have been a top 10 offense in the red zone, scoring 4 times, and top 10 in the red zone 4 times, and red zone top of it in the red zone scoring percentage 2 times in 5 full seasons. In 2023, the Chiefs are 9th in points per game at 24.5, which is fine when you consider that they've had little to nothing coming from their wide receiver room, and Travis Kelce's been hobbled pretty much all season. But where they've really struggled is in the red zone, significantly.
I'd say so, yeah.
As it stands, the Chiefs are currently 17th in red zone touchdown percentage. Now, you could say, Lance, that's only 1 spot below where they were in 2020, and they went to the Super Bowl. That's fair. But see, that Chiefs offense was also 6th in scoring, averaging 30 points per game, and that's considering the fact they set their starters in Week 17 against the Chargers. Remember when Herbert just went off against the backups and everybody thought that was a legitimate win?
Barely won, really.
Including Chris Long, who went at me on Twitter, and I had to correct his ass. And to that point of 2020, we look back at that team, and before this season, I did genuinely believe that 2020 team was the best team of the Mahomes era. But why didn't they win the Super Bowl? Their O-line was depleted by injuries, and you saw the Bucs front seven absolutely expose it in the Super Bowl. Absolutely exposed it. Patrick Mahomes was running for his life. I think the stat was he ran for almost 500 yards in scrambling yards.
Yeah.
Insane. That's what I worry about when it comes to the lack of weapons for Mahomes in 2023. Because like 2020 before, this is now the best team Mahomes has ever had, but like 2020 before, this team has a true weakness. The difference is the Chiefs couldn't do anything to avoid or overcome the loss of their star right tackle Mitchell Schwartz and the reliable left tackle Eric Fisher. But they can do something to avoid and overcome the inadequacies at wide receiver now. And after 6 games, I don't know how anyone could disagree with what I've been preaching for 8 months now, Trev. This offense has lacked fluidity and rhythm all season long. And for the record, I'm not one that's closing the book on Sky Moore. He's not even 2 full seasons into his career, and Andy Reid's offense is tough. But he came into this season expected by everyone to be one of the key catalysts in this wide receiver room. Because he has played 25 games to this point of his career, and to this point of his career, he hasn't produced to the level of expectation.
For his draft capital, he's been a bust so far. I'll say it.
And Kadarius Toney, I'm going to say it, and I know it's unpopular because people love him. I love him. But he's a gimmicky player to this point of his career. He's not a wide receiver one like they sold him to us this offseason. He can be an asset because he's so damn talented, but we're midway through his 3rd season. He's yet to put together a full game of production in his entire career. MVS is basically Chiefsaholic with a helmet. Dude is stealing $9 million from the Chiefs this season.
Nice.
Averaging 1 reception per 37 offensive snaps played, and is on pace to finish this season with 17 receptions for 329 yards and 0 touchdowns. That's pathetic.
It's not good.
Justin Watson made some big catches over these last couple of seasons for the Chiefs, man. But he's a boomer bust player, let's be real. If he's not catching a 25-plus yard catch, he doesn't really do a lot for this offense. It's just the truth. And I ate some crow this last week against the Vikings when he made 2 of the biggest catches on the field with Travis Kelce and Justin Jefferson on the damn field. So I ate some crow for that. But he is a boomer bust player, and now he's hurt. And he's probably going to go to the IR with that arm injury, so we're wishing him a speedy recovery. It does sound like he can come back in the next 4 or 5 weeks, though. So that's obviously a good thing because I think this offense is better with Justin than without him to this point.
Yeah.
Justin Ross has played 10 snaps, just played 10 snaps in the Broncos game. 10. As Joe Budden so eloquently once put it, why? It makes no sense that Justin Ross isn't getting more playing time. The lack of production from everybody else around him should elevate him naturally. Not just the fact that he's talented on his own and was the highlight MVP of Chiefs training camp in preseason, but the fact that all these guys I just listed above him have been underwhelming at best. There's no excuse for him to only play 10 snaps in a game that was a one-possession game for the majority of it. Now, some positives here. And I want to talk about this guy because I love this guy and Trevor loves this guy, and I think all of you guys echo this sentiment. Rashee Rice has been the only true bright spot of this wide receiver room. I love what I'm seeing from this kid. Love what I'm seeing from this kid. He could be what changes the narrative of Brett Veach's drafting prowess at wide receiver, or lack thereof, because to this point, he's not drafted wide receiver well at all. But as I told Trev and Book in the Chatting Up the Chiefs postgame show on Thursday, it is unfair to expect a rookie wide receiver and Andy Reid's offense to go out there and be the wide receiver one when it's literally never happened here. We give Sky Moore a pass because he's still young and he's played in damn near 20 more games in his NFL career than Rashee has. We need to allow this kid the same luxury we give Moore and give him time to grow in this offense because I'm telling you guys right now, if he is a legitimate player, the Chiefs need to let him gain his confidence by not having to be the focal point of the receiver room. He needs to be able to work his way into it. Plain and simple, Brett Veach cannot go into the trade deadline sitting on his hands. Again, I do believe this team can and will win the Super Bowl despite their glaring weakness, just like I thought they would in 2020. But you saw in 2020 just how wrong we all were that believed were because that weakness was too much to overcome. The Chiefs we're more than willing to let go through we'll more than likely have to go through the Dolphins, Bills, and Bengals just to get to their 4th Super Bowl in 5 seasons. And if they end up doing that, they're more likely going to have to defeat the 49ers, Eagles, or Seahawks, or another tough team with explosive offenses to win their 3rd Super Bowl in 5 seasons. Every one of those teams, again, have explosive offenses that even a defense as great as the Chiefs is gonna need some offensive help to pull off the W. This isn't 1994 when you can beat teams 16-13 in the playoffs on a consistent basis. And the way the Chiefs' offense is performing right now, that would have to be their route. Think about this. From 2018 to 2022, I showed Trevor this stat after the game on Thursday. 82 regular season games from 2018 to 2022. The Chiefs' offense was held to 20 or fewer points only 10 times. That's 12% of their games. That's the lowest in that span in the entire NFL. In 2023, the Chiefs' offense has been held under 20 or fewer points 3 times. That's in only 6 games. That's 50% of their games. That's not acceptable if their goal is to repeat as champions. And I'm not expecting, Trevor, the Chiefs to drop 30 a game. I understand that's not always the reality year in and year out. But when you have an offense that's scoring 20 points or less half of your season, and you score 1 touchdown and 5 red zone trips, you score 1 touchdown and 4 quarters against the 32nd ranked defense on a team that's in a fire sale, that is just literally trading off assets in their pass rush, letting guys go that they spent $5-10 million in the offseason on. They're just letting these guys walk. And you score 1 damn touchdown on them, that's a problem. It's a real problem for me. Now, bright side in all this, because I keep trying to give you guys the confidence here, and I'm going to pass this off to Trev to get his take. We have a couple of weeks to go before we know who will be available out there when it comes to these other teams. But when we have a better idea as to who that will be, Veach cannot hesitate. This defense is too damn great to waste on an offense that can't find their way or at best can't get out of their own way. They need juice. They need production. They need reliability from a receiving option, whether that's a wide receiver or a tight end, doesn't matter. And that receiving option is not currently on the roster. They can, and I do believe will, change that and give Patrick what he needs to open up this offense and help take some of that pressure off of this defense has been the biggest reason why they're atop of the division and the conference. Trevor, what are your thoughts, man?
Well, first of all, I want to give you some breaking news real quick. The Colts are currently in trade talks with Jerry Jeudy. So that's a thing. That's a developing story as we speak.
That'd be a hell of a get.
But I mean, as far as this team being the best team in the Patrick Mahomes era, I understand this defense is very good, but this offense is far off from what 2019 was. So I still tend to think that Super Bowl championship team, it's hard to claim that this is the best team when we haven't, won the Super Bowl or have gotten to that point. I think that's more of an evaluation after the season is done because there's a goal, and if this team is better than the team in 2019 or the recent Super Bowl team of last year, those would have to be compared to each other after the fact. But I think as far as talent goes, defensively, I mean, this is by far the best defensive unit and support that Patrick Mahomes has had on the other side. And the timing is great because our offense is stalled in a lot of ways. So I think overall this team has the potential to be the best team so far in the Patrick Mahomes era. I'm not ready to claim that yet. You're getting ahead of it, and I respect that. But it's hard for me to agree with that just yet. I have to see this offense get a little better before, because this team still runs off of the offense. This team is still quarterback and tight end and receiver centric, running back centric. This team, the lifeblood of this team is still supposed to be the offense because that's an Andy Reid coach team. Granted, I'm fine with it being a defensive team for a short stint or maybe half of the season and then we take off offensively in the second half, whatever, that's fine. But the way that today's game is, when the playoffs get going, you got to put up points. If our team's not able to go out there and put up 30 against the Broncos, that's a problem for me. So that team was giving it up to everybody. So we got to stop playing with our food, if you will. I mean, I know that's been a narrative with this team for a long time since Patrick Mahomes has been here. We kind of play down to the level of our competition a little too much. But as far as everything you said, man, I agree with most things you're saying, especially about the receivers. Rashee Rice is, whether he likes it or not, whether you think it's fair or not to rely on him to make big plays, life isn't fair. And I would think that putting my mind in my brain in the mind of these athletes, Rashee Rice is probably a guy that wants all of that responsibility. He wanted to get drafted here to be the guy. I think those guys thrive off of that. So I think Rashee Rice would accept that responsibility, accept that pressure if that's the case. I don't think it is. I still think he's not on the field nearly as much as guys like MVS and Sky Moore. Even Kadarius Toney was on the field more than him in this past game. So it's tough. I do think the Chiefs are relying on his big playability, especially now even more so with Watson out. I do think that's going to be the case even more moving forward. And my thing with Kadarius Toney, man, is I still, and listen, I'm an idiot. I don't know shit compared to these guys that are setting up the game plans for this offense. I'm not Matt Nagy. I'm not Andy Reid. I'm not these masterminds of what the NFL offenses are and how you play to guys' strengths and utilize guys correctly. But from what I'm watching as a fan, what I know of Kadarius Toney, what I've seen of his skill set and his utilization and his success in college and small portions of the NFL so far, I don't think we're utilizing him correctly to his strengths, in my opinion. We're doing way too much jet sweeps. But I know he can do that, but the execution hasn't been great. The blocking hasn't been great for him for those kind of plays. And I just feel like we need to use him a little more downfield. I know he's an injury risk on damn near every snap, but I still think we need to get him downfield, similar to the plays that we've been given to Rashee Rice. I think he can eat on those similar types of plays. He doesn't have the speed or the burst that Rashee Rice has. He has elite burst ability. I think Rashee Rice does. I think he's showcasing that already, which is why we love that, because we're kind of lacking that right now. We don't have a lot of guys that have that kind of burst ability. But yeah, man, as far as his receivers go, I said it on our post game. Get MVS off the field. What do we have to lose? Get MVS off the field. I mean, I know we're paying him handsomely. He's making the most of any receiver on this team. Or get him off the field at half of what he's doing right now, and let Rashee Rice run those same routes. Put him out wide, run those same routes, and see if he can beat those one-on-ones. You know what I mean? Or see if he can get those kind of snaps and get him out there in different ways. Let Rashee Rice get half of what MVS is getting right now. At least half. I mean, what do we have to lose? Experiment a little bit. I mean, we want to talk. Everyone, the narrative is the Chiefs are just out here having practice. I hate that, by the way. This is a real NFL game. That's not true. You ask. It's such a low IQ take that this is like a skill that the Chiefs can play with their food and still win games until we don't.
Right.
Like last year against the Colts. We were just playing with. We typically win those kind of games. We find ways to win those games. That's not on purpose, guys. The Chiefs aren't going out there on purpose trying to keep the game close.
Right.
I don't believe that. We're not out there having practice. That's such a stupid take. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes wants to go score on every drive, and that's who Patrick Mahomes is. Yeah. We know that.
It's such a dismissive and disrespectful take to your opposition.
The Chiefs can play bad sometimes, guys. And that's what's happening right now on offense. We're not good on offense right now.
Right.
We're not even good yet. And that's scary for the rest of the league because the Chiefs' offense isn't even good yet.
Because I do think it's going to click, but it's going to take another edition.
Yeah, and wait till we get good. Wait till we become great as the year progresses. Wait till we find things in this offense.
Because there will come a time the defense is going to need it. They're not going to be perfect every game.
I do agree that we are experimenting with live bullets in these games, but I'm not of the mind that we're just doing this on purpose not to put a lot on film. That's bullshit, especially in a divisional game.
Right.
And telling me that we don't get up, players don't get up for these games. We always get up for the Broncos and Chargers and Raiders games.
It was a primetime game.
Always.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and these games typically are more competitive than the rest. And we know that. So that gives you more juice to get up and go out there and showcase and destroy these guys. So I don't buy that narrative at all. Sometimes I do think we become lackadaisical and we become a little lethargic and we maybe don't have as much inspiration going into these games that we know we should beat. And if we're playing the Bengals or the Bills, of course we're going to be a little more juiced and amped. Of course. We've had nothing but battles with those teams. I get it. But I am not of the mind that we're out here just having live practice. That's such an ignorant take.
And let me jump onto that
arrogant,
one.
Honestly.
Let me just jump onto that one real quick, and I want to react to some of the things you're saying, because I agree with a lot of what you're saying, because I think you and I have been on the same page in a lot of ways. We're just on a different chapter. You know what I mean? Or we're on the same chapter, and sometimes we're on a different page about some of these things. I do believe, because we've heard Travis Kelce and a couple other veterans say, there's times we just can't wait to get to the postseason.
Yeah, of course, looking ahead.
But at the same time, you can't tell me that the Chiefs view this as quote-unquote practice when Travis Kelce is literally dealing with an ankle sprain.
Right.
And he goes out there, and Patrick Mahomes throws the ball to him 9 times. And the man gets 9 balls. I think he got, what was it, for almost 130 receiving yards?
Yeah.
I mean,
if we were that confident to go beat the Broncos, why would Travis Kelce even play?
Exactly, man.
Right.
You got your 34-year-old tight end with one leg out there.
Right.
Like, give me a freaking break. This is not practice.
That's just such a lazy take to me.
And I love Nick. I love our guy Nick Wright.
I know, it's a lazy take, dude.
It's wrong.
It's lazy.
This is not the preseason. This is not training camp. That's when you do things like that.
We have to dissect what's actually happening.
If this was practice, Trevor, why have we not seen Patrick do the behind-the-back pass yet?
Right. Yeah.
He does it in training camp every freaking practice. Why aren't they doing some of the goofy other things? Now, they are doing goofy things.
Tony did throw a pass.
But I have a theory on that, Trevor. See, this is what it all comes back full circle.
Yeah.
The reason why I think Andy Reid was doing stupid shit like that in this game wasn't because he looks at it as practice. He looks at it as, I have to manufacture some production here.
Yeah.
Because we're moving the ball.
That would make more sense than we're just like practicing.
The Chiefs had 393 yards of offense. That's a good game yards wise. They moved the ball with the best of them. But it's scoring touchdowns is where they continue to have problems. It's the short yardage conversions where they continue to have problems. The fake field goal was inexcusable. The Tony double reverse throw to double coverage was
even in a practice is inexcusable.
It's stupid. These are not plays you should be doing. But see, again, that tells me Andy's telling on himself a little bit. He's telling me he doesn't have the faith and trust in these wide receivers. This is why I say, yes, there's been times when Sky Moore or MVS have been open on a certain individual play. Yeah. But when in other 35 or 40 routes they've ran that day, if they're not open, Patrick isn't going to look their way. That's why he was force-feeding Travis Kelce, because he knew every time I look that man's way, which will be read 1, he's going to be open. Every single time. I saw our producer Clay Windler posted a still frame, which I usually dismiss automatically, and I saw him post one where MVS was running down the sideline and it looked like he was going to break open, and he was trying to make the case that MVS is going to be the guy that you should have threw the ball to because he would house it. The problem is, again, 1, MVS does not run enough open routes, first of all, and 2, Travis Kelce was wide open 15 yards downfield. Of course Patrick's throwing the ball to Travis.
Well, and MVS would have had a touchdown if he didn't stop on that route late in the game.
You know what I'm saying?
He if he didn't stop on the route, ran to the end of the end zone, he would have had the back of the end zone touchdown because Pat he threw that ball with some heat on it too.
Right.
But MVS stopped on the play.
Right.
So, I mean, you want to talk about breaking the trust of Pat? You stop on routes, bro, and he's throwing you open.
And people get mad about Clyde still getting snaps and still getting opportunities in this offense. Yeah. Guys, do you not think that's because of the fact that Andy has to find something? Because you can't have Pacheco out there every damn snap. And again, McKinnon is a guy they look at as a long-term answer for the postseason.
Right.
So they're not going to go out there and have him play 50 snaps a game. Pacheco, the bright spot in this is Pacheco's becoming a dual threat back.
Yeah.
And that's huge. He had
great
6 catches.
Yeah.
6 catches. So you could look at that positively and say, oh, look, Patrick's starting to gain trust in Pacheco on the flats and the dump-off screens. Those are great. But, guys, it's also because of the fact that he doesn't have enough wide receiver trust. There's not enough guys that are breaking open, getting open enough times for him to justify throwing them the ball 20 yards down the field. The reason why Justin Watson, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Justin Watson continues to get trust from Patrick is because the man gets open.
Yeah, he creates separation.
Open.
He's fast as shit. People sleep on his speed.
His route running is good.
Yeah,
He's a good route runner. So
and if he would have caught that ball, man,
I know
that was a great throw.
Yeah, it was a Patrick couldn't have handed that off better. It was a great throw. But the point is that outside of a few things here and there, guys, it doesn't not. I mean, let's be honest. Whether you believe in this wide receiver room or not, you know where I stand on it. You guys know where I've stood on it from day one. You can't tell me this offense looks like it's fluid.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting them to be the 2018 Chiefs every single year. That is literally impossible.
Yeah.
We know the turnover and everything. The NFL, the rest of the NFL adjusts, and you have to adjust the adjustment. It's a continual chess game. I don't expect them to go out there and drop 35 a night. They've got to score more. They cannot go 1 for 5 in the red zone against the worst defense in the NFL because you're not going to face the Broncos in the postseason. You can get away with that in week 6 against a horrible team.
Yeah.
You cannot get away with that in the divisional, conference, or Super Bowl rounds, guys.
Yeah,
it will not happen.
And I'm definitely of the mind that this is this play calling, this cutesy stuff. It is pretty clear to me that Andy Reid doesn't trust this team to go play straight up football and just beat teams playing straight up football, which I disagree. I don't think we've tried yet. We've tried to get too cute too much. Go out there and try it. I haven't seen enough bubble screens. I haven't seen enough quick slants. I haven't seen enough, getting the ball out quickly. More like the later years Tom Brady approach. It works.
Yeah.
When teams are taking away the deep stuff and they're playing too high or they're playing, cover 2, cover 3.
Yeah.
Dink and dunk. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay when you got guys like McKinnon who can just Get the chunk yards after on those dump offs. Pacheco getting those chunk yards after the dump offs now. He looks great in the passing game. Getting Sky Moore passes at the line of scrimmage, playing some bubble screen throws. Or even Travis Kelce in some bubble screen throws. I mean, we got to get these guys, and we're not utilizing Tony Best to his strengths. I still don't believe that. Rashee Rice is great for these big burst plays up the middle. Get him more involved. Get him some quick strikes too. We gotta change up this offense, but I do. This team is not exempt of criticism, man.
Right.
We've got to be able to be hard on them when we see what we see.
And again,
stop trying to get this scapegoat take with us saying that this is practice. That is such a cop-out take, and it's honestly it's low IQ, honestly, man. It's just a lazy, we'll be fine. We probably will be. Yeah. But we have to dissect how things are going right now, game by game, week by week. We probably will be okay, and I have the faith that we're going to be okay because we've proven that over the years. But right now, it does not look good. Right now, we're doing with a crew offensively that we have yet to get to the top of the mountain with. Right. This is a new guy. This is a new set of guys, and we have faith that it will get better because of the leadership and coaching and Patrick Mahomes. But, I mean, there is some cause for concern here, man. That's all I'm going to say. You got to be critical at times.
You're 100% right because, guys, I understand that a lot of people watch this team because it's an escape from your reality. It's an outlet. You just want to enjoy good football. And, guys, look, Trevor and I, as much as critical as we can be on this show, trust me when I say I enjoy every single Sunday or every single game the Chiefs play. Man, before the game, my heart's racing. I'm pumped. I can't wait. We're doing the whole bravado thing. We're chest bumping. We're high fiving. We're excited, man. Like we love watching this team succeed and win games. Are some of these games fun? No, not at all. There's a lot of games that are unnecessarily close, and we will critique it for that. What we're talking about, though, why we are so adamant about hammering these points home is because when people tell me, well, Lance, they're 5-1, bro, you got to relax. First of all, there's 2 points that I need to make on this that you guys got to hear me out on.
Jimmy G stat.
Yeah, first of all, okay. Yes, the Chiefs are 5-1. But every one of you, whether you agree with me or not, are going to have to accept the fact the Chiefs should be 6-0. So if you want to bring up the record, we can bring up the record. We all know the Chiefs, even without Chris Jones and Travis Kelce in week 1 against the Lions, they still should have won that game. But what was the key play in that game? A wide receiver tip drilling the ball to a Lions defender who took it to the house. The Chiefs defense, the Lions offense is one of the 5 best in the league.
Teams.
They're scoring. Oh my God!
Overall, that defense.
They're scoring over 30 a game.
Yeah, man.
And the Chiefs' defense held them to 14 without Chris Jones, and they lost. That's a problem, guys. And this is the point I'm trying to make: is that you want to bring up the 5-0 and woo, everything's good, guys. They should be even better record-wise. And 2, we're not, unless I'm mistaken here. The standard changed. When Trevor and I were growing up in the 90s, it was, let's get to 10, 12 wins, and let's see if they can, get deeper in the postseason. Woo! Yeah. That's not the standard anymore. The standard is, let's get to the damn Super Bowl, let's win this damn thing. Guys, the record to me is irrelevant when it comes to the standard that has now been set. Obviously, you want to win every single game, and I hope the Chiefs do. I was way bigger on this than Trevor. I think you had him at 13-4. Mm-hmm. I am at 15-2. So obviously the record thing was something I was down with. I still believe this team's going 15-2. I really do.
Definitely could.
They definitely can go fit. This defense is even better than I expected. I was one saying they're going to be top 10 without question. But that's not the focus. This team has to play better football, even though they're 5-1. They're still again 2020 guys. This is the team I keep comparing the 2023 team to. They were 14-1 in real games. They didn't play the final game. They rested their starters. They were 14-1. By far the best team in the NFL. They didn't win the Super Bowl, guys. They got there, which was great. They got smoked. Why? Because of the deficiency that they could not overcome. This team does right now, as awesome as they are, and they are awesome. Best team, I think, in the Mahomes era. Definitely the best defense. This team has a glaring deficiency. It has a real problem that we cannot ignore or excuse because it can literally and it will literally cost them games if they don't fix it. Again, you can get away with it against a Jaguars team who were struggling at the time early in the season. You can get away with it against the Broncos. You can get away with it against a Vikings team that didn't have an identity. You can't get away with it against the Eagles. You can't get away with it against the Dolphins. You can't get away with it even against a hobbled Bills team that plays this Chiefs team tough every single time they play. And you definitely can't get away with it against the 49ers. And if those are the teams the Chiefs are going to have to face to get that next Lombardi, they have to fix this. You cannot expect this defense to hold teams to 10 to 20 points a game. It is not going to work in the postseason. You have to give them a break, because even Patrick said it himself in the press conference this week about we've got to take some of the pressure off this defense. We are not playing good enough football on the offensive side. It starts with Andy Reid, starts with Patrick Mahomes. Sure, they got to do better too, because play calling was atrocious against the Broncos. Patrick Mahomes was holding the ball way too damn long in the pocket. That's why he threw that pick in the red zone. But it's all stemming from a problem that they did not address this offseason. Patrick is overthinking everything. Because look, go compare the throws, Trevor, that he threw to even Rashee Rice, and compare him to the throws he had against Travis Kelce, and see how fluid he looked when he threw to Travis, and how clunky it still looked to Rashee or any other receiver that caught the ball.
Well,
you saw Travis, the confidence in when he threw to Travis.
Travis is getting wide open.
Right. That's my point, is that you see Travis out there doing his little shimmies, turning to the left, turning to the right, and Patrick's like, I bet. Just, it looked like Patrick knew what was going to happen. We're going to get 20 yards on this play. We're going to get 40 yards on this play. We're going to get 15 yards on this play. It looked like Patrick was confident. But when you see him throwing to literally anybody, I challenge you, go watch the plays again. I watched it myself. I tell everybody, I always rewatch the game after the game's over. I go and I find the highlights and I find everything that I'm seeing that I'm looking for. And it looked like he was like, oh, okay, I'm going to throw it. Oh, shit, hopefully he's open. There's always like this double pump from Patrick where you could tell he's questioning whether he should go that route. But when it's Travis, fluid. That's it. That's the issue, guys, we're talking about here. There's got to be somebody else. You saw last season, Trevor, with Juju Smith-Schuster in this offense. I know everybody's like, Lance, he wasn't great. Guys, he had 933 yards. Nobody in this wide receiver room is going to get them 933 yards this season. It is not going to happen. Just accept that. Juju would automatically be the best receiver in this team right now. And you saw when Patrick was throwing Juju the ball last season, he had conviction in those throws. He knew Juju was going to find the openings in the soft zone defenses. And when they played man, they ran the ball or Patrick scrambled. That's not here right now. Patrick's having to run mostly for his life. It's not because that's a part of his DNA where he wants to run the ball. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson.
I think he's doing it less because he's running for his life. I think he's doing it to bring the safeties in.
But I'm saying he has to run right now.
To beat the covers.
Any other season, he's never had to run. He's having to run this season to convert third downs. That's a real
he's
problem.
Even came out himself and said that he's going to do it more and more to draw the defenses in so he can beat them over the top.
Because he has to. Is what I'm saying. Like, it's because
I think he should continue to do it.
That's the only way he's going to get his receivers open now. Is if he we can't push back because Patrick will run for 11 yards. Because he's a deadly runner. He is. He's the most effective runner in the NFL.
Yeah.
He converts more first downs than any other quarterback with his feet in the NFL. So, yeah, defenses are going to start respecting him, but that's what I'm saying. It feels like Andy and Patrick are going to have to manufacture so much just to get a little bit. They're squeezing the lemons as much as they possibly can to find the little juice that they have in there. Well, and to this point, Trevor, I want to get your thoughts on this because I brought this up on the postgame show with Book. Yeah. I'll bring it up on this show. Guys, this team does need to go get McCole Hardman. I know. Well, the Chiefs already have like 3 guys just like McCole, undersized, and they're speedsters. Guys, name me a single guy on this team right now that's been as productive as McCole has ever been on the Chiefs. I know everybody's saying, well, Lance, McCole only has like 6 yards on the season for the Jets. Do you guys know Garrett Wilson's numbers right now? Garrett Wilson's one of the 10 best receivers in this league. That man, I think right now, Trevor, if I'm not mistaken, is like 25th in receptions, like 53rd in yards. Tied for like 100th in touchdowns.
And I mean, McCole is free.
And McCole is free. Like, everybody's excited about Frank Clark probably coming back. It's looking like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Great. He's depth, postseason depth, whatever. Yeah. This team doesn't need him, though.
Yeah.
You know who they do need? A guy like McCole Hardman. Everybody's sitting there saying, well, Lance, they let him walk. That's kind of my point.
We're at that point, man. We got to bring in somebody who knows the offense. He would immediately fit right in.
That makes my point. You know what I mean? Like, yes, they let him walk, and now, 6 weeks into the season, they need him again.
Yeah.
So go get him. I'm not saying he's the answer for their offensive woes.
Yeah, go get him and Frank Clark. Let's get the crew back together.
But here's the point, Trevor. We know that Andy loves to run the jet sweeps.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a guy in the Mahomes era that runs a jet sweep better than McCole Hardman?
He knows how to do it, man. He shredded the Niners by himself, so we know that this dude has the
one guy in the last 37 games to the 49ers, a team that has been in the 3 of the last 4 NFC championship games and has been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
One guy has scored 3 touchdowns on the 49ers defense.
Shit, even that Bills game, we needed
Hardman.
we needed that big play down the stretch before that set up that Kelsey touchdown. He was the guy that caught that big and got her on that play.
I saw Nick Jacobs tweet that crap yesterday when he was sitting there saying, people are asking me about whether we should bring McCole Hardman back. This is my thoughts. And he posts the Buccaneers Super Bowl game of when he missed a couple routes.
Listen,
so I decided to post a 6-minute video of McCole Hardman scoring touchdowns and making difference-making plays.
No, cool. It's cool when you highlight each an individual player's weaknesses, but not talk about their strengths.
Exactly.
His strengths are also very important to this offense. What we're trying to do with Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore is what we would do with McCole Hardman. McCole Hardman was having success at it. And these guys, and I love Kadarius Toney. I cape for him. That's my guy. I love him. I want to see him succeed in this offense. But the things we're trying to do with him that aren't working with him are the things that we're working with McCole Hardman. And I think McCole Hardman, I don't think he's better than Kadarius Toney, but maybe there's something mentally that's not clicking for Kadarius that was clicking for McCole. McCole spent more time in this offense. I'll give him that for sure. He knows this offense more than Kadarius at this point anyways, but bringing McCole back makes too much sense, especially now with Watson gone, probably for a handful of weeks. It makes way too much sense to bring McCole back. It just does. I mean, what is it going to hurt?
Yeah.
It's a net positive. It's not going to hurt us at all.
Oh, no, Trevor. He might take snaps for MVS. Oh, no. He might run jet sweeps instead of Kadarius Toney, who's getting like -2 yards per carry.
And if I'm being honest with myself, Kadarius has not looked fast. I mean, the jet sweeps of him have looked slow. I'm not going to lie. They've looked slow. I don't like those plays for him right now. I think we just need to get him downfield. He is still very good at creating space on routes because he has very good like one-step movements. Can put his foot in the ground, create separation on guys. But the jet sweeps, man, McCole, that's where he ate. That's where he made his money.
Remember, Trevor, before the season when we were talking about whether they should keep McCole or not? Mm-hmm. And what did I say? I said, of course they should keep McCole Hardman because he does the gimmicky stuff right. And I know people look at gimmicks as a negative thing, guys, but Andy Reid loves his offense to have gimmicks.
Shit,
I
would
6
immediately
of them in this Denver game.
Bro, I would immediately take him and put him in out wide where MVS is, let him run those 9 routes.
Yeah, because
what are we doing?
If you did a player swap right now and you said, okay, you get to pay one of these guys $9 million this season, MVS or McCole, who you paying?
I'm paying McCole, bro.
Exactly.
I mean, it's mathematically the right decision. I mean, MVS is literally just getting cardio out there, bro. It's horrible.
Yeah.
He's bad. And I loved the signing when it happened, but the guy, man, it's not working out. The production's not there. I mean, he's supposed to take the top off the defense and it's just not working, man.
And let me reiterate, we got about 15, 20 minutes until our lady KYLIE WINFREY is going to be joining us from the Kingdom Cast. And I'm going to get her thoughts on these things as well. And if you guys have questions, go ahead and submit those as well because we will be getting to you guys momentarily regardless. But again, I want to reemphasize something, Trevor. McCole Hardman is not the answer at wide receiver. I don't believe if you put him in this offense, all of a sudden everything's just better.
No.
But he will bring them juice and production they don't have.
He's a answer.
At stretching the field because I think he's a better deep threat at this point than MVS is.
Right.
He's just as good as Justin Watson as a deep threat. He's a guy that is a burner that can catch the ball downfield, has done it several times over in this offense, and is incredible at jet sweeps, something this offense is pretty much implementing on.
And special teams.
Thank you. I like this Washington kid. I like him.
He's played well.
But I would much rather have McCole Hardman returning punts and kickoffs than that kid. I like the kid. But again, McCole Hardman is a dual threat player where he has produced at a decently high level at those positions and situations. I mean, remember, everybody loves to bring up, Kadarius Toney returning the punt again in the Super Bowl. That's great. But if we're going to do that, then let's go back to when McCole Hardman, when the Chiefs were down 24-0 against the Texans. What did he do? He returned the ball for over 60 yards and got the Chiefs practically in field goal range, and within 2 plays, changed the whole game. Yep. And the Chiefs never looked back. Patrick Mahomes does that little dump off to Damian Williams on the little streak play, and then the Chiefs rolled. It started with McCole Hardman. He is a guy that can bring fire and juice to this team. I know that people are sick of hearing about McCole Hardman because they think that he isn't a good football player. Guys, Patrick Mahomes trusted him. Patrick Mahomes liked him.
In that Bills game, man, he was playing hurt. He had one, and like our guy John Harrison just said, I said it a couple minutes ago, that big play that set up that Travis Kelce game-winning touchdown.
Thank you.
He was hurt in that game, bro, playing with the abdominal issues.
Yeah.
I think it was a hernia.
And, in the AFC Championship.
Yeah, he was playing hurt and made that big-ass catch and knocked him out of the game. But that last play of his Chiefs career, basically, pretty much of his Chiefs career, set up a massive game-winning play. I mean, the guy was a heart and soul kind of guy, man. And I think he's gonna be back. I don't see anyone out there that's gonna go get him. Honestly, I think it makes too much sense for the Chiefs to bring him back. I mean, what do we have to lose, man? It's a net positive for us.
Yeah, and when it comes to, people are going to ask me, and they already have been asking me, Lance, who do the Chiefs go and get that's going to be that guy, that dog, that alpha for this wide receiver room? Plain and simple, I don't know. I have some ideas, but I haven't told Trevor. I have a few names, about 5 names right now that are stashed right now, but it's going to really depend on how their teams do over these next 2 weeks. Yeah. If the Falcons, I'll give you one. If the Falcons drop their next 2 games, the Chiefs need to call the Falcons and ask what they can give up, what the Falcons are looking for Kyle Pitts. If you put Kyle Pitts in this offense, and I know he's not a receiver, or wide receiver, but he's a receiving option, and again, Travis Kelce is one of one. He is the greatest tight end I've ever seen. He has this unbelievable talent of having fluid motion with his hips, running like a receiver at 6'5", 250 pounds. But Kyle Pitts is the closest thing I've ever seen to Travis Kelce when it comes to physical ability. If you could put that guy in this offense, that takes so much off of Travis Kelce, because Kyle Pitts is, 23? You put Kyle Pitts in this offense, takes that pressure off Travis Kelce. It takes the pressure off him, Pacheco having to catch more passes, because we know that he is going to run the ball a lot in this offense. He's a physical runner, so as much as I love seeing catch passes, we do know that his ability to run the ball is going to be the valuable part in this, because Jerick McKinnon is going to become that passing option out of the backfield as the season progresses. They need one more piece. And if they could get a Kyle Pitts, just throwing that out there, like, hey, listen, Falcons, you're 2-4, or would it be 2-5 at that point? You guys, the season's done. You guys look, you look like you guys would be a team that's on the way, but maybe a year away. Let's give you a couple picks, because the Chiefs just a year ago gave up a 3rd and 6, a third rounder and a 6th rounder for an unproven injury-prone Kadarius Toney. Kyle Pitts is a much better football player than Kadarius Toney. If you can give up a 3rd and a 6 for Kyle Pitts, would we not take that in a heartbeat? Abso-freaking-lutely. Even if it takes a 2nd-round pick, guys. Because at this point, this team is a Super Bowl window team. This is they can win another Super Bowl or they can win a few more Super Bowls over the next 5-10 years. That is what we assume. What we know is they can win one this season. So you got to take care of what you can take care of this season. That has to be the focus. That's why the Chiefs were aggressive in getting Juwan Taylor on a long-term deal. That's why they went and drafted all these young assets on the defensive side, to make sure that they had a great defense for years to come, but it's effective now. We know what we have now in Kansas City. So go get a big piece that you know you can get on a bad team. And there are going to be other options out there. Chris Godwin's someone to look out for if the Bucs start to slide a little bit. Maybe they want to get rid of him. Guys.
Shit, Cortland Sutton, even from the Broncos, man. They're about to sell everybody, dude.
DeAndre Hopkins? If the Titans decide to, hey, look, our season's not going the way we want to. He was here to help us contend. We're not contending. If they lose a couple more games, which they're playing the Ravens this week, and the Ravens are pissed off. There's guys out there, guys. I'm throwing names out there a little prematurely, so don't quote me on this yet, because some of these guys may not be on my list. Some of them might be. Give us a couple weeks to figure out who's going to be available, when they're going to be available, and we'll talk about it that time. Until then, guys, all we can address is the fact that this team is so ready to win a Super Bowl. They are this freaking close to being complete. It isn't like this wide gap where you have like the team like the Bills are like, yeah, if Milano wasn't injured and Russo wasn't banged up and Von Miller wasn't on a snap count and, Micah Hyde and Poyer weren't banged up, like, yeah, we could probably win a Super Bowl if McDermott didn't suck at situational coaching. Those aren't the problems the Chiefs have. The Chiefs are the team that gets it right. They're the ones that say, okay, guys, it's 4th quarter. This game is unnecessarily tight. Let's figure out a way to just put this bitch to bed. It truly
feels like we're just one piece away from just being leaps and bounds above everybody. Maybe outside of the 49ers, who I think are just outright the best team of football right now. They're just destroying everybody on all facets, and the coaching is just on an elite level right now. Shanahan's is on one. We're one offensive piece away from being just an absolute juggernaut, an all-time juggernaut team, with this defense being perhaps the best defense we've seen in over a decade in Kansas City.
At least since 2016.
That's going back to like the Eric Berry, Tom Hawley, Justin Houston days. Those defenses were so good. This is up there with those guys, though. I think, and you have to, as far as like how points allowed and just lack of production we've given up. We got to take advantage of that. We got to be aggressive if we want to repeat, especially repeating as champions in the NFL is just something that's unheard of. It's extremely. I mean, that would put us in rare air. So if we wanted to accomplish that, we want to accomplish damn near the unthinkable in sports in general, especially in the NFL. We got to be aggressive, and Brett Veach has done nothing but show that he is an aggressive GM, and we'll make the moves necessary. I'm of the mind that we don't make a big splash move, but bringing McCole back does make sense. Sucks that we're at the point where we feel like we need to bring McColl back because that's not. I was never the biggest McColl guy, but I'm even of the mind where like that's a massively positive move to bring a guy like that back who would be extremely motivated to get some playing. He's got fresh legs. He's barely played any snaps this year. Knows the offense and would be motivated to play for a team that he loves and be back with some friends. So I think that's a move that's definitely possible, but I don't know, man. I don't know as far as what other big. I don't think we make a big splash move personally. Kyle Pitts would be a fucking great move. You know, I'm a big Kyle Pitts guy. I've been wanting them to trade for him for years. Maybe trading for another big, pass catching running back too, like a Saquon Barkley or someone like that, who's basically on their way out on a shitty team. That makes a lot of sense too. So I'm all for being aggressive, man. But the NFL trade deadline always seems to disappoint. It's not the NBA. It's not any of these other sports. Big moves don't typically happen like that in the middle of the year in the NFL. But we got to be aggressive, bro.
Real quick, before KYLIE jumps on, who would you say right now is the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC side of things? Just real quick, just like a solid answer.
Oh, man.
Could you go with the Dolphins?
I'm just going to say the Dolphins, dude.
Okay.
I think the Dolphins are on another level right now. The offense is insane.
That's the team I have as well.
Yeah,
okay?
I trust them
Why?
right now.
Because they have a high-flying, high-octane, historically great offense.
Yeah.
Okay?
And the coach is an awesome coach.
That is the biggest concern, is that, yes, this Chiefs defense can probably keep them to like 25, 28 points, between 25 and 28 points, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Their defense isn't very good right now.
Yeah, no, their defense is actually not great at all.
But they could get better because Vic Fangio is running it, and they're going to get Jalen Ramsey back at some point. Which
they're kind of a bend, don't break defense.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could say, well, the Chiefs' offense can beat them. Guys, again, we just saw the Chiefs' offense struggle against the worst, almost historically worst defense just this last Thursday. So you can sit here and assume that this defense can keep them to 25 to 28. But guys, what if they don't?
Yeah.
What if the Dolphins go out there and score 35?
Dolphins and Chiefs AFC Championship seems destined at this point. With the league's best offense against one of the league's best defenses, the best defense in the AFC right now.
We're going to get a preview in a few weeks.
The best offense in the AFC, best defense in the AFC matching up. That just seems like it's destined.
Going to get a preview in a few weeks, guys. And again, that's what I'm saying. In that situation, the Chiefs defense could keep them under 30. I believe they could. But if they don't,
that's tough.
You got to have an offense that's going to pick them up.
Counter it, yeah.
You have to. And right now, do you think they have the offense that can go out there and drop 37, 38? I don't. I love this team. Again, this is as complete as it's ever been. But right now, I cannot say with any conviction this offense can go out there and drop damn near 40 points against the Dolphins. I don't believe they could.
Yeah.
They need one more piece. They need one more piece, man. And I agree. It's just how it is, guys. I mean, no team is perfect, but the Chiefs are so damn close. I think the 49ers are about as perfect as it gets because Purdy isn't a great quarterback, but that dude is not a bad quarterback by any means.
He's just delivering the ball where it needs to go, man.
Yes, Kyle Shanahan is just literally like drawing it up for him. He's just finding the open guy every time.
And I will say this about the Niners real quick. An insane stat is they throw at the lowest rate in the NFL.
Yeah.
They throw at the lowest rate, and their
efficient.
offense is one of the best in the league. And that shows you how great Christian McCaffrey is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, Brock Purdy's got a good amount of touchdowns, a healthy amount of touchdowns passed, and they're barely throwing the ball.
I think it was 13, 14 touchdowns this season?
So when they're in the red zone, he's just so efficient.
Yeah.
And that offense is just, oh my God, man. Granted, I am, if I was a Niners fan, I'd be waiting for the injury bug to finally hit him because it does every single year.
Yeah.
But Brock Purdy is steering the ship well over there, man. So kudos to him. That team is scary.
If their injury bug doesn't hit,
I know.
Then all of a sudden you're like, shit.
Then we got to beat him again in the Super Bowl.
But there is one team that has the 49ers number. Who is it, Trev?
Oh, that would be the Chiefs.
That'd be the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So you get that one. This is why I'm excited,
McCole
guys.
Hardman.
I'm not sitting here doing doom and gloom over here.
McCole Hardman's got their number.
He does. He actually does. But I'm saying, like, bring Frank Clark back, cool, whatever. You bring back McCole Hardman. You add another piece to this offense, the receiver room or the tight end room. Guys, do you not feel great even going up against the 49ers? I would feel amazing. If you gave Patrick Mahomes one good, solid, reliable receiving option outside of Travis Kelce and let Rashid continue to cook and grow, I would feel better than I ever have about the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl because I know that defense is legit. I know they have right now the best kicker in football, and that's including Justin Tucker.
Jesus Christ,
dude. Harrison Butker right now is 14 of 14.
That 60-plus yarder, he could have hit from 70.
Yes,
like had 10-plus extra yards on that thing, dude. That was wild.
Motherfucker hit mid-net, dude.
Against the net, or against the wind, too. Bro. That was insane.
He's historic. Guys, outside of Justin Tucker, no one in the history of the NFL has a higher field goal percentage, minimum 200 field goals, because Young Wei Koo's up there, too, but he has like 65 total field goal attempts.
Yeah.
200-plus. I think Harrison Butker has exactly 200 field goal attempts.
And the clutch is a clutch, too. His kicks in the clutch are insane,
there isn't a kicker in the history of the NFL in a playoff situation where you have to kick kick a field goal or you lose. If you don't make the field goal, there's not a single kicker in the history
He's
of
the
NFL.
best, bro.
I would take him over Vinatieri. I swear to God I would.
That's high
because I've
praise.
seen him do it just as many times as Vinatieri. Where in a big moment against the Bengals or against the Bills or against any of these other teams, the Eagles last year as well. Ice.
Yep.
Every single. I mean, it was 2 degrees outside in Kansas City against the Bengals. It's 20-20, and then he kicks that bad boy from 44 yards, nothing but net. I would not take it. I've been critical on Harrison Butker before because of his PAT problems, but this man is a madman. And to think the Chiefs got him off the 2017 Panthers practice squad.
Yeah, man.
Because they thought Sly was the guy. Man, I
mean, Sly is a good kicker.
That's one of the I know, but I mean, this is one of the most underrated acquisitions in Chiefs history.
Yeah.
Legitimately, man. Like, this dude just flew under the radar. No one even knew who the hell he was. Did you know who he was? We had Cairo Santos at the time, and they went and brought in Harrison Butker. I was like, who the hell is tall, lanky dude? Really got a foot on him. This guy has grown into something special, man.
And that politician face can kick, man. I mean, let me tell you, that boy Harry, he a dog. That
dude's got great hair, brother. Can I just say,
yeah,
the dude's got
him.
great
yeah,
hair,
fuck
man.
Him.
I know, us two, pinballs over here. We're sitting here pissed off at Harrison Butker for having great hair, and he's like a foot taller than me, but asshole.
Man.
But no, this is like I said, guys. This team is as complete as I think any team in the NFL is outside of the 49ers. And they can win the Super Bowl. Could they scrape and claw and get just enough out of this wide receiver room? Sure.
Yeah.
But they're in a position now, guys, where they can really, if it was injuries we were dealing with in Kansas City, be like, well, they're just going to have to make do. It's not injuries the Chiefs are dealing with. They've actually been one of the healthier teams in the NFL this season, which is great, and I hope that stays up. I'm going to knock on this wood real quick.
Right.
But there are opportunities here to be had, and guys, before this even kicks off, before the playoffs even kicks off, the Chiefs have to make a couple moves here, guys. And I think they're going to, because we all know that Brett Veach is one of the most aggressive GMs in the league. He's one of the best GMs in the league. And I believe that Veach season is about to commence, guys. I think it's about to start happening, and we're going to start seeing him wheeling and dealing like we know he has. Because Trevor's right. There's not a lot of big acquisitions in the middle of the NFL season. Mm-hmm. But just last season, we saw the Chiefs trade for Kadarius Toney.
And there are some teams that I think are trying to tank for a possible
Caleb
quarterback.
Williams is coming, baby.
Yeah, so I think there's some... Shit, I'll even take like a Darnell Mooney from the Bears. A guy like that, I think, would thrive in this kind of offense. Talk about a guy with top-notch speed that can stretch the field better than MVS could and is a better athlete in my mind. I think that's a guy. So, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you who else I'm a big fan of is a person that we're about to have on the show right now. Really excited about it. I don't know if you guys are following him, but if you're not following him by now, then you're absolutely lost, and I think you guys need to go find some help because the Kingdom Cast is one of the best shows in the Chiefs community. And it's only gotten better. You guys ever seen like Always Sunny in Philadelphia? And please don't get offended by this comparison, but Always Sunny in Philadelphia was funny as hell. But when they added Danny DeVito, it became one of the greatest shows of all time. This person right here is the Danny DeVito of Always Sunny. Just took the show to the next level. I've always been a fan of Kingdom Cast, but this person took him to the next level because she's got the knowledge. She's somebody I respect greatly, and I am a big fan of her as a person as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the one, the only, KYLIE WINFREY! She on?
Yeah, can you hear us? Can you hear us? I don't think she can hear us right now. Or if she can hear us, we can't hear her. So give us a minute, guys. We're trying to figure this out. I have it on real text, so I will see.
Technical difficulties?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
You guys hear me?
Just 1 second.
Can you guys hear me?
We're just saving it. There it is. I heard something.
Yeah, it's something.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
I think I'm having trouble with my mic, but I switched mics, so hopefully you can hear me now.
We'll blame you. It's fine.
It's totally my fault. I had one mic going, and I had to switch to a different one, so I hope there's not an echo on this one.
No, not at all.
You're good.
Not at all. Can you hear us, though? Everything's good?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you see me? We're good? Everyone's good to go?
See you.
Awesome. Yes. KYLIE, how the hell are you doing, man?
I'm awesome. How are you guys? First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Of course.
It's been long overdue. You and I have known each other for years now. Like I was saying, I was popping you up, I was prepping you up, and I was letting everybody know that this is somebody I respect big time because you honestly are somebody that your opinions do matter outside of your Michael Jordan comparisons. But we'll leave that one alone for a little bit, KYLIE, because that's not something we have to talk about today. But no, I've been telling people that you are what took Kingdom Cast to the next level. You're somebody that I follow. I don't follow a lot of people on Twitter because there's very few people, to be honest with you, that I find is somebody that I need to follow to understand the game better, to understand my opinion better, maybe sharpen my skills. You're one of those people, and that's why we wanted to have you on today, and we're so glad you're here today. And I know the viewing audience is really excited to have you on as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And I want to jump right in this because I don't want to take a lot of your Saturday up. We've been really jumping right in on these discussions because the typical topics that are going on right now through 6 weeks here in Kansas City. But I want to tell you, first of all, you had 2 tweets over the last few couple days that I have to address because one I couldn't relate more on, and the other one I think that is something we need to jump into the show with when it comes to what you're taking away from the team, in particular against the Broncos. But this tweet, I literally laughed. People put LOL and they don't really laugh out loud. I LOL'd when I saw this. You said, I love it when someone in my office tries to hit me with the casual "Go Chiefs" following last night, and I hit them with the giant list of unsolicited opinions on the game. They always look completely shook. I can't tell you how seen I felt when I read that tweet, because that is exactly how it is in my life, Kylie. Like, I'm sure that was a real interaction for you. Is that a common thing for you, like it is for me and Trevor?
It happens to me after every game, whether it's a Monday, whether it's a Friday, whether it's a Red Friday before a game, or after someone will just, oh, you got a Chiefs shirt on, go Chiefs. And I'm like, oh, well, I've got a whole bunch to say, and I'll just kind of word vomit, if you will, with all of these
Do you have a minute?
opinions. And yeah. And they're like, they're just trying to get their coffee. And I've stopped them for 5 minutes and they're like, oh, you're like a big fan. I often get that following it. They're like, oh, you really like the Chiefs. And I'm like, I do. And I should also say that, so I'm KYLIE WINFREY here, but at work, I still have, my name hasn't been legally changed. So WINFREY is my married name. Manning is my maiden name. So at work, I'm still under Kylie Manning. So they don't really know this side of me, I guess, if you will. So they're always completely shocked when I have a little bit more knowledge than just the average fan, I guess you could say. But it's fun. It's fun. Once I get going, they're like, oh, okay. And they kind of know either to stay away the next time or who to go to if they want more information. So no, it's really fun. And I love too, because I feel like that is so many of us, especially us in this community, in this Twitterverse and the podcast universe. Like, we take it very seriously. We love this team. We're not just fans, but we're fanatics. We're maybe a little biased sometimes, maybe a little too opinionated sometimes, but that's part of it. Grew up this way. Yeah, grew up with, loving the Chiefs. And so it just it sticks with you, But I love that I love that resonated with you.
I feel like I'm like understating it because I was like, oh my God, did I tweet that and like use your picture as like Photoshop? Like, how did that happen? But the other tweet I wanted to talk about is about this Broncos game, and I agreed with a lot of what you said. Now I wanted to kind of emphasize on a couple of these points. The key takeaways following win over Broncos: quit the cute shit on 3rd and 4th and short. 100% agree. Trevor and I have been talking about that a lot today. Kadarius Toney is not a quarterback. 2 for 2 on that one.
What?
I need more Rashee Rice. We're big fans of Rice here. Rice, baby. Mahomes has not been Mahomes. That's something I definitely want to get your thoughts on as well. Chiefs defense is looking elite. I've been saying it as well all season long. I think this is the best defense in the AFC. And Harrison Butker, MVP, we just got done singing his praises. 14 of 14, second highest field goal percentage in the history of the NFL with a minimum of 200 field goal attempts. This man is absolutely goated in my eyes. Maybe the most underrated acquisition in the history of the Chiefs, considering they found him on the Panthers practice squad 6-7 years ago. But let's start here with the Mahomes has not been Mahomes. There are a lot of theories as to what's going on. I've heard a lot of differing opinions of why, because it's true. Every single statistic this season, he's having a career low. And so we need to figure this out. Kylie, where do you stand on it? Do you think it's more of him? Do you think it's more of the receiver room, scheme, adjustments from the opposing defenses? What are you seeing so far 6 weeks into the season?
Well, let me start by saying it's really difficult to be critical of Mahomes. Nobody wants to ever be critical of Mahomes. He's our savior, right? He's the guy. He's the chosen one, if you will, the one that came along. He saved a struggling fan base, a struggling team. So it's difficult to pinpoint this and maybe make this about him, but at the end of the day, he's the quarterback. He is the guy that needs to get that team going, that offense going. And obviously we have a lot of new wide receivers, a lot of young wide receiver talent on this team, but part of his job is to make sure that they're coming along with him. And I don't know that he hasn't done that yet, but you can see that he's really struggling to trust some of these receivers, and he's constantly forcing it to Travis Kelce. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, it's Travis Kelce. In my opinion, he's the best tight end in the game, best tight end to play the game. But at some point, we have to be able to look to a second guy, a second target. I think Rashee Rice is definitely on the verge of being that guy. I wish they would play him more. I wish that he would get more reps, more targets. But I also think that there's times where we see, I have my opinions on Sky Moore, but I think there's times where we see him open. I know he struggles to get separation, which is really interesting because that's something he was really strong at coming out of college. We're not seeing that a lot right now. So I think it's really interesting to see that he hasn't made that leap that I think we were all thinking he was going to make coming into the season. But then there are times when you look at the All-22 and you're like, well, he's open. He's open. Why aren't we throwing to him? So I think there's a lot of Mahomes is forcing it to Kelsey. He's pressing a lot. He gets in. We saw it the other night with him, that turnover he had in the red zone, where he just looked like he didn't know where the answer was. He didn't know where to go. And he tried to do Mahomes magic. Well, it's not going to work every single time. So they've got to be able to get on the same page. We saw that another guy I'm really surprised by is MVS, a guy who had a decent performance last season. So coming into it being his second year, I knowing he works with Mahomes all offseason, knowing a lot of these guys worked with Mahomes all offseason. So to see them not be where we thought they were going to be 6 weeks in is really surprising to me.
Yeah,
so,
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you. Not to interrupt you there, KYLIE, but this is my theory on this. Is I think that what's happening is some of these receivers are asked to be a peg higher than what they actually are naturally. I think I've always viewed MVS as a wide receiver 3, a high-end wide receiver 4. He's a field stretcher. But even back in Aaron Rodgers' prime years, this guy was getting 450 to 500 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He's just a guy. And I think that this season the Chiefs try to elevate him a little bit further than what he actually is. And I think that that's what's happening as well with the fluidity of this offense. Because outside of, and you're right, Patrick's been force-feeding Travis every game that he's been healthy. But I think it's because of the fact that when you watch the differences in how fluid and how confident Patrick is throwing the ball to Travis as opposed to literally any other receiver on this team, he's double pumping, he's overthinking throws to other guys. When it's Travis, he's throwing with fluid motion because he has that familiarity and that confidence and camaraderie with them, and that is a problem. So I'll piggyback off that with asking you this. Because of the fact that I think, and I don't know how you feel about this, so I'm going to get your full take on it. I think this is the best team as a whole that Patrick Mahomes has ever had. I think this is the best defense. I think this is the best offensive line. And I think this team as a collective is the best they've had at least since 2020. That team was unreal, but unlike 2020, this team's deficiencies, they can help. 2020, their offensive line was depleted, and they got exposed in the Super Bowl. There was nothing they can do about that. You can't replace Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher in one season. But you can add a piece here or there to your offense to get some juice and some production in the receiving game, whether it's a tight end, whether it's a wide receiver, whether it's a high-end tight end or high-end wide receiver, or somebody that's a little bit more on the middle tier side of things. I think they have to make a move. What do you think, KYLIE? Do you think they're going to have to make a move, or are you still trusting this wide receiver room is going to start clicking?
So this is an interesting question because if you had asked me Wednesday before the Justin Watson injury, I would have said they don't need to make a move. Now that Justin Watson's injured, we don't know how long he'll be out. I don't think he'll be on IR based off of the MRI that's come back, based off of the fact that it's not fractured. I think he'll be back quicker or sooner than we thought. But he's, outside of Kelsey, he's the one guy that Mahomes has proven to trust. He's the one guy that Mahomes is, if he's not looking to Kelsey, he's looking to Watson. And he's got the guy that was, up until I believe last week, leading in yards per catch. I think it's Rashee Rice is now leading by, I think it's like 2.7 or something like that. You guys might have the stats on that. But so that's concerning, knowing that like the only other guy that he really has built chemistry with, that he's built a relationship with. And that's the reason he's on this team, right? I think there were a lot of people over the offseason who were like, why is Justin Watson? People asking, like, he needs to be cut. We kept saying, this is a guy that's built chemistry that Mahomes trusts, he likes, he wants on this team. And that's what Andy feels the same way. So when you see him go down injured, obviously we're all crossing our fingers. Please don't be a season-ending injury. But now he's going to be out a couple weeks. So before the injury, I would have said, no, I don't think that they need to bring anyone else in. I think they're building something with Rashee Rice. I think they've got something with Watson. I think there's promise and hope with Ross, even though I don't think he knows the full playbook yet. I think that he's still very limited in that aspect. But now without Justin Watson, it is a little concerning. Who are they going to go to? I know a lot of people are really adamant about McCole Hardman. I personally don't think it's worth trading for McCole Hardman. If they release McCole Hardman, that's a little different, right? Yeah. But I don't want to trade away picks for a guy that we weren't going to sign in the offseason in the first place. If they release him, we can get him on the cheap. Yeah, bring him back in. Now, a lot of people think that McCole Hardman is a guy that we need in the punt return game. I don't believe that. I think Montreal Washington has done a wonderful job back there. I don't think that that's really an area that we need to correct right now. I think if you're looking for a guy to do some jet sweeps, because I don't know that Tony is that guy as much as we would like him to be, I think it can be McCole Hardman. That's what I'll say about that. I don't want to say, like, I've been very vocal about the fact that I don't think we need to bring him back. So I will say that it's changed over the last few days based off of the Watson injury.
That's totally fair. I completely understand that, and I think that's a fair assessment on the way this is going. And I love the fact that we're seeing running backs like Isaiah Pacheco becoming more of a dual threat. I think Isaiah Pacheco is going to have 1,000 rushing yards this season. He's well on his way, and I love the fact he had 6 catches in this game against the Broncos. However, I do think that it's a little bit of Andy Reid manufacturing some of these plays to just try to get the offense going. That's why you saw some of these goofy plays. Kadarius Toney throwing the ball, like you said, he's not a quarterback, but I think Andy's doing that not because of some people's theories that they're playing with their food or they're bored. No, I think they're literally trying to find something in this offense to get a little bit more creative, because you see teams do this every single season when their offense continues to stall. The Chiefs move the ball with the best of them, but in the red zone, they're the 17th in the NFL in touchdown percentage. That's a problem to have when you have an offense that's supposed to be elevating, especially the wide receiver room. And you bring up Justin Ross, that's actually where my next question resides, because I do agree that the playbook may not be the most familiar with it yet. He's still learning it, and I think that any young receiver in this team is going to have to take a couple years at best to really understand the concept of what Andy Reid's trying to do execution-wise. But when you're seeing the fact that he's only getting 10 snaps in a game where it was a one-possession game for the majority of it against a team you should be rolling, I feel that there should be opportunity for Justin Ross to at least be getting some red zone looks, especially, again, not to echo my own take here, but they're struggling in the red zone. So I think that putting out a 6'4" wide receiver with hops out of this world can be able to go up there and get some passes, give Patrick Mahomes an opportunity to look someone else's way outside of Travis Kelce. Do you think that as the season progresses, Justin Ross becomes maybe more of a red zone target, or do you think this is going to be one of those seasons where he's just slowly trying to learn the offense and hopefully become an effective player at the tail end of the year?
That's a really great question. I personally think that he could become a bigger part of this offense after the bye. I think there's a lot that they're still working out. I don't want to say that we play with our food. I think that that's a silly argument to make, because while we did have several close games last season and then we ended up winning the Super Bowl, I don't think it's always intentional. Like, if you look back at that Colts game last season, it was ugly, but it was because of drops. It was because of poor play. It looked a lot like what we watched on Thursday. So I don't think it's intentional. I do think that they might be trying a couple of things, but I don't think they try them with the expectation to fail. I think they're trying things with the expectation that they're going to succeed. So I do think that Justin Ross is going to get more playing time come after the bye. I think that he's still getting comfortable. I also saw, he had 2 drops, I think, in that game that we saw him a couple weeks ago. So I think that might be just him trying to get in touch with the pace of the game itself, the NFL, not so much being football, but being in the NFL, and that it is a much quicker game. I think that those passes are coming a little bit, they're zinging a little bit quicker than maybe he was used to. So I think I would love to see Justin Ross get more playing time. I would love to see him get more snaps. He's a contested catch guy. We saw that on that one play that it was out of bounds and Patrick threw it high and above. But I would love to see Justin Ross back there. I think it's interesting that you talk about Kelce in the red zone, because on Thursday night, I think he only had 1 red zone target the whole time. So why are we driving down the field and we're making it look so easy? He had, 130 yards, I think, on Thursday. And then we get to the red zone and it's like, Travis who? What are we doing? So if you're using Travis all the way down the field, why aren't we using him in the red zone? Right. I mean, it's very puzzling. So, I'm all for Justin Ross. I think he's going to be, his ceiling is mega high, right? We know that. We know this guy is capable of really great things. I think it's a question for Andy are we doing too much too fast with him? We don't want to get him out there too quickly. We don't want, especially, there's a lot of injuries to consider here too that he's been dealing with. So maybe that's something that we're trying to slowly bring him back from. I don't know. I wish I had the answers on that, because I'm someone who really thinks that Justin Ross and Rashee Rice should get more targets, especially when you consider who's getting the bulk of the reps, and it's MVS, a guy who's not producing at all. I think I made the statement on Thursday, and I appreciate what he did for us last season. I'm going to preface it by saying that. But on Thursday, I saw him, he was like waving someone in and out, and I was like, that's pretty much all you're good for. Waving in teammates and waving them out. Like, I hate to say it, but where is he? Where is he? I was really high on MVS going into this season. I was like, this is year 2 for him. The rookies had made comments that he's the guy that's been helping them out with the playbook. He's the guy that's really been helping them during training camp. So I thought, sure, he's going to have a really great season. And he's been quiet. And that's really frustrating when you see a guy getting so many snaps and he's getting maybe a target a game and maybe a 1 completion a game for like 11 yards. Like it's very frustrating. Very frustrating.
Yeah, I to be honest with you, I think the biggest reason why, and I've told Trevor this, and I've told a few other people on our other shows, that I think the biggest reason why MVS continues to get all these snaps is I think that I'm not one that criticizes Andy Reid very often because he's the greatest coach I think the Chiefs have ever had. I think he's the best coach in the NFL by a long shot at this time in his career, and I think that when he's done, he could very well be the greatest we've ever seen. But there's one thing I will criticize Andy Reid on, is that sometimes he's loyal to the point where loyalty turns into stubbornness. And we've seen him be loyal to a fault with, in my opinion, I know other people will never join this hill, but I will die on it gladly. At some point in that 2017 season, Patrick Mahomes should have taken over at the quarterback position, and that was the reason why they lost in the divisional round against the Titans, in my opinion. Maybe they wouldn't win the Super Bowl, but I think they would have gone further because Patrick Mahomes the next season threw 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. He was ready in 2017, in my opinion. But also, 2018 holds on to Bob Sutton 1 year too long, cost the Chiefs the AFC Championship because the Patriots were running a high school style offense and they were dicing them up all night long. These are things that Andy has dealt with in his career where he's just a little too loyal and sometimes a little stubborn. And I think that when you see the fact that MVS is making more money than all the other receivers combined, when you're seeing how much they gave up, or they drafted Sky Moore in the second round, when you see they give up a 3rd and a 6 for Kadarius Toney, they're still trying to make it work with those guys as opposed to giving Justin Ross a little bit more, to give Rashee Rice a little bit more, because those guys right now haven't given or weren't given as much, or didn't give up as much to get those guys. Rashee's a 2nd round pick, but I believe they traded up for Sky Moore, if I'm not mistaken. So they have to. I think Andy has to get out of his own way sometimes and go with some of the hotter hands. I'm not saying Justin Ross is the best receiver on this team, but I'm with you. His talent is sky high. So I think that they need to allow him to be great in this offense in the small portions he gets it. Go ahead, Trev.
Well, and I was going to say, especially, too, with us being a defensive team right now, that gives us our offense, we don't have to put up a ton of points right now. So if we're a defensive team right now, that gives the offense the leverage to kind of experiment. We know what MVS is at this point.
Yeah.
So why don't we just give Rashee Rice, like I said, maybe 30% more snaps, to get him on the field more, get Justin Ross those wide, deep 9-route snaps that MVS is getting, maybe cut MVS's snaps in half, let Justin Ross go out there and run those deep shots with his height and his abilities athletically. It makes more sense for us to experiment and figure out what we have in these guys that are unknown still than the guys that are knowns, that we know what MVS is. He's not producing. Let's try the guys that have untapped upside and give them a shot. So I think if we can hold these teams between 10 to 18 to 15 points a game that we're allowing right now, our defense is so good right now. That gives the offense the ability to go kind of experiment a little more, to
grow within itself.
Yeah, yes. Switch some things up and get some bodies out there, get some more snaps for these younger guys. It just makes more sense for me.
Now, KYLIE, I don't want to sit here and talk too much about the deficiency on the offensive side. I feel like we've already addressed that, and I think that we all have our takes on how this team can improve on the offensive side. Let's talk about this defense a little bit just for a few minutes, because there's a lot to be happy and excited about on this defensive side, because they're rich, and the rich are about to get richer, because as we know, Mr. Charles Omenihu is now free. He has been unleashed, and he's going to be joining this defense at the defensive end position. I was so big on this signing. I love this kid. He's 25 years old. He's an absolute stud. Statistically, he doesn't have a ton of sacks in his career, but that's, I think, because of the fact he was setting up guys like Nick Bosa and other guys like that throughout his career to get those sacks. I think he's going to be a guy. Before the season started, I said he was going to be the guy that was going to lead this team in sacks, because I thought Chris Jones was going to open up some of that stuff, kind of like how he did for Frank Clark, and we'll talk about Frank in a second. But Charles Omenihu's back. I think he's going to add such a dimension to this pass rush. I don't think people understand how much of a stud this guy is. I'm very excited about this. I think it's the perfect timing, too, because he's coming in fresh when we know the biggest stretch of the season against the toughest opponents will be coming up in these next 6 to 7 weeks for the Chiefs. What are you expecting out of Charles Omenihu? He might be rusty to start off, but are you expecting some big things out of this guy as well?
Absolutely. Let me start by saying, what an upside down we're living in right now, right? With this amazing Chiefs defense starting for the last couple of weeks, we've just been, I'm like, is this our defense? And it took me a second to really wrap my head around what's actually happening. They're physical. They are determined. They're young. They're athletic. And it is exciting. I'm so excited about this defense. We typically don't see a Spags defense really get their momentum until the second half of the season, and they hit the ground running. I mean, you've got, like you said, Chris Jones is back there. He's got, I think he's had a sack the last 8 games in a row, is what I read.
Yep.
You've got Trent McDuffie, who has completely stepped up to the challenge of his second year. He's got 3 forced fumbles over the last 5 weeks, which is unbelievable. He's playing with a physicalness that we've only really seen from L'Jarius Sneed up until the season. If I'm like, when we signed L'Jarius Sneed, it was very impressive because like, this is a guy that we don't really have on our offense. When we got him, we still were dealing with some of that Bob Sutton defense, and to see him come in with such the physicality that he had, I was like, we got to keep this guy. We got to keep this guy. I still think we need to keep L'Jarius. I hope they extend him next year. We'll see what happens with that. But to answer your other question, I think Aminihu is only going to add to that physicality. I think he's going to help with George Karlaftis, a guy that I'm also really high on. I think he has 2 sacks right now, but I really think that he's still in a position to get maybe possibly double digits as soon as Aminihu gets back and gets him some of that break that he maybe needs. That way we can constantly have fresh legs in there. I think that having that additional rotational piece is going to be really good. I think that helps move Jones back into the inside a little bit more. And you've got Aminihu, and then you've got George on the outside. I mean, and then Mike Dana. Like, I know you asked about Aminihu, but I'm smiling about the entire defense right now. Mike Dana is having quietly one of his best seasons right now.
Yes.
And I am floored by what I've seen from him. It's very impressive, the whole team. And for Spags to take this defense and do what he's done with it through the first 6 weeks is unbelievable. It's not what we typically see from him. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about Aminihu coming from a 49ers defense. We see what that defense is doing right now. We know he's been coached well. I think that's going to only continue as we see him here. I think he's going to continue to get coaching. Joe Collins does an amazing job with the guys on the defensive line. I think that's been very evident in the way that George Karlaftis has progressed, in the way that Dana has progressed over the last 2 seasons since getting Joe Collins. So I'm excited. I think it's only going to add. I think right now the Chiefs D is not really producing the sacks. However, we're still a top 5 defense, which is really interesting, right? Because I think we had way more sacks last year than we do right now, but it's really because that secondary and that linebacking core is just so strong. So I went off on a tangent. I kind of blacked out there for a second.
No,
but
look, you know what I mean. That's why we have you on here, is to give us your takes. And to piggyback off what you're saying, I mean, you bring up George Karlaftis, and yeah, I think he only has 2 sacks a season, but he's leading the team in pressures.
He
with
looks
27.
so good in the Denver game too.
Yeah, George is doing his thing, and I'm so glad you brought up Mike Dana, because to me he is an unsung hero in this defense. Just a quiet guy, comes and brings his lunch pail. He's like the cliche, just the quiet, the character, the stoic guy, but he just does his job, and he already has 3.5 sacks on the season. He's only done that 2 or 3 times in his career, and he's been in the league now 5 seasons. So he's already done that in 6 games. I love what I'm seeing from that guy, and like I said, I think this is going to open up even more so for Chris Jones, who's had a sack 8 consecutive games. In his last 20 games, Chris Jones has 20 sacks. So this dude he's playing at his all-time level. That's going to open up stuff for George. That's going to open up stuff for Aminihu, but you bring up Spags, and I'm so glad you said that, because I think I changed his name for him legally. It's now Steve Bagnolo, because he's in his bag every single week now. So he's now Steve Bagnolo, and Bags is in his bag because of the fact that I think he took on the challenge. Last season was the only time in his career he had been a DC for 4 consecutive years. This is now his 5th year with a team. And this is the youngest defense, not only in the league, but the youngest defense Spags has ever had in his career. And for him to, it's just like, and I think we're now seeing why Andy Reid loves having Spags on his coaching staff. Because Andy's also the type of coach that loves to zig while everyone else is zagging. He likes to stay ahead of the competition. He stays relevant. He doesn't, sit in his feet in the sand like Bill Belichick and wants to play 1991 football. Andy tries to stay up with the times, and Spags is doing the same thing on the defensive side. That's why they're playing their best football on the defensive side. I don't think it's any coincidence that with those 5 draft picks, the Chiefs went and rebuilt their defense. They got from Tyreek Hill. They rebuilt their defense and got studs, because now this is becoming more of a Spags defense more than ever. Even though he likes to have more veteran guys, you look at the body builds, the athleticism, the leadership, the versatility from their safeties and linebackers to play multiple positions within the defense and have a constant rotation to keep guys fresh. That is the Spags way. And Aminihu, being the physical freak that he is a Spags guy next to Chris. He isn't one of those guys that likes to have those short, chunky defensive linemen. He likes to have a little bit more of those taller, broader shoulders kind of guys. And now you have a plethora of those guys on this defensive line. Spags loves to run those stunt blitzes, but he may not have to anymore because you might be able to get, with the 4 guys, you might be able to get those adequate pressures. So I love what I'm seeing right now, and I think the Chiefs' defense is such a great place, especially with the men who back. They don't need to add anything, but it sounds like they might be doing that, Kylie. It sounds like an old name might be returning.
Hey, let's go.
And it sounds like the shark might be coming back to bite in these waters. What are your thoughts on this Frank Clark thing? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think the Chiefs need him, but I don't despise Frank by any means. I don't think that he's he's a great guy, an amazing leader. He's helped this team win. He's historically great at getting to the quarterback, and especially in the postseason. And we know that's what matters the most here. What are your thoughts on this move? Because it sounds like it's inevitable at this point.
I fully support it. I've always been a really big Frank Clark fan since we got him. I've got a jersey for Frank Clark. I found the pavement for Frank. When he left, I think I cried in the corner a little bit. I was so sad to see him go. So I definitely would love to see him back. I think I want to see him back. I love the leadership presence he brings to the team. I think what we saw with him last year when he was bringing George along, I think that changed a ton for George Karlaftis. I think that was such a big part of what made him so great last year was the fact that not only he had obviously great coaching staff, but he had Frank Clark there after practice, after training camp, helping him along. And that's something like you don't really see that a ton. A guy who possibly could take your position, and then he's willing to sit there and help him and really get him along. I think that's part of it, his leadership. I think the second part of it is the swagger he brings. Not just because of his post-game interviews. We know those are great, right? Like what a treat those always are. But because of the intensity and the swagger that he brings to the line, he brings a level of confidence. He brings a level of chippiness, I guess you could say, to the team. And we know that he might be a little slow during the regular season, but when it comes to playoff time, that's a different Frank Clark. He turns it on. I think, what did he have, like 2 sacks against the Bengals?
Yeah.
And that, yeah. So I know there's a lot of people who say, "Oh, we don't need him. We've got a great team." And I mean, I'm not going to say we need him, but I would like to see him back.
Yeah, I think it's more of a feel-good story. I think it's one of those things that, like, I think it's only going to be a positive for the team because, first of all, you're not going to pay him a ton of money at all.
He's free, man. He's free.
Yeah, and he's just a guy that the team loves. He's Chris Jones' best friend, and you want to make Chris Jones as happy as possible, especially the way as clunky as this offseason went. You want to make sure that you continue to smooth things over. So I see the positives.
Well, having that much depth at edge rusher is not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's never a bad thing.
Give me that all day. Let's go.
Yeah, I was looking at needs. I was in my needs mode this week because I'm like, okay, the Chiefs need to get this at wide receiver or tight end or something like that. Then when I heard Frank Clark's name, I'm like, I'm focused on needs here, damn it. I don't want to talk about points.
Put him on ice till the playoffs, bro. Just put him on ice.
But yeah, I welcome Frank. He's going to be in the Ring of Honor. He's going to be banging the drum. He's going to be a Chiefs Hall of Famer. He's going to be all that. And you know what? Honestly, I'm rooting that this postseason breaks Willie McGinnis' record. That would be the most amazing thing in the world to see that happen in a Chiefs uniform, that the number 1 sack leader of all time in postseason history is a Chief. That would be the coolest thing of all time, man. So I think it's awesome. I don't know if you saw the stat before we get you out of here because I have one more question for you, but I wanted to throw the stat your way. Chris Jones joined Derek Thomas, Tamba Hali, Neil Smith, and Justin Houston as the only Chiefs to have 70 or more sacks in their career. I don't know. I know we're going way ahead of things here because we're enjoying this season right now, and Chris Jones is a madman. I have been vehemently on the side that they got to pay this man. I think that even though he's 29 and, Brett Veach doesn't like to pay guys that are late, 28 and older, he doesn't like to pay those guys unless they're a unicorn one-of-one player. Kylie, I think he's a unicorn one-of-one player, and I know that he's not young, but he's not old. And I don't see not one single sign that Chris Jones is tailing off. He looks like he's at his absolute apex. He looks like the best version of Chris Jones. He's making it look easy, and he's coming from an interior rush more times than not.
And if he wins Defensive Player of the Year this year,
he legit could. He's
going to get the bag, bro.
He's on pace for over 18 sacks this season despite missing week 1. Like, think about how insane that is.
Right.
Be a career high by 2.5 sacks. So I know I'm rambling here, but Kylie, do you see it the same way I do, where this guy, I think he's a long-term answer still, because you're not just going to go and replace Chris Jones. He's a one-of-one guy, and I think this window for this current team is still open for the next 3 years. They'll obviously have to rebuild as time comes on, but right now is not that time. I think they need to sign him to a 2-3 year deal extension. What do you think? Are you on the other side, or how do you see it going?
No, I completely agree with you. I was all for paying him in the offseason whenever they didn't get a deal done. I was very, very upset. I was really frustrated. I thought the same thing that you're thinking. This guy is not slowing down. He, in my opinion, is the Mahomes of the defense. He's the anchor. He's the leader of that defense. And obviously, we know he's going to be older. We know he's going to be 30 when it comes time for him to resign and hopefully get a deal next year. But to you, what you said earlier, this defense is the youngest in the league. And because of that, it's not like we've got a bunch of old guys on this team and we got to get younger at all these different positions. We're young at all these different positions. Bring him in, keep him there, and let him be the leader of this defense for another 2 years. Pay him the $30 million. I was all for giving him $30 million. I think he's deserved it. He's continuing to prove, like you said, every single game that he's out there, every week that he's out there. He didn't need training camp as much as we all thought that was going to have him take a step back or maybe have it'd be a little bit slower, longer for him to get acclimated. Didn't bother him. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was that Florida heat, but didn't bother him. Here he is doing exactly what we hoped he was going to do. And, I do think he can get decoy. I don't see why he can't. And especially if he's on the same path that he's on now. I want to bring him back. I think him and Frank together are a really great duo. I call them the Bash Brothers, but yeah, I'm all for it. Pay him, bring him back, please. Beach, if you're listening, I always try to talk to Beach. Listening, bring him back. You never know. They could be listening.
Yep, Kylie's on pay Team 95. I'm glad that she's on that. Whenever Kelly's on my team, that means that usually I'm making sense over here. So I appreciate that. One final question for you, Kylie.
Yeah.
AFC Championship. Where is it played? Who's playing it? And who wins that game?
I think it'll be played here, and I think it's the Arrowhead Invitational again. I do. I think it will be. Yeah, I think it'll be the Bills. I think. Based off what we're seeing right now, so let me preface this by saying I have the Dolphins winning the AFC East, but I don't think they have the defense to take them the distance. I think that's where they are really lacking right now. I think we've seen it across the games that they played. Obviously, they can put up points, but when you look on the other side of that and you see the Bills' defense and what they're doing, they have a more complete team, especially when you factor in the fact that they don't even have Von Miller back yet. Like that's a little. I think he comes back maybe this week possibly, but I just think they've got the more complete team, which is really interesting considering they did lose Leslie Frazier. I thought that was going to see them take their defense take a step back. It hasn't. I think Josh Allen is starting to figure things out a little bit more, which, obviously against the Jets, it was a little rough. He had 4 turnovers that game. Ooh. But I just think they're the more complete team. I think we're going to end up with a better record, which is going to give us that home field advantage. But I think it'll be the Bills. Chiefs, Bills, AFC.
I like
Chiefs
that
are winning, though.
I like that one because if they get to avoid Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Mostert and Achane by that point, sign me up. I will take Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs over that plethora of weapons. I'm with you on that 100%. I would love that to be the case because always beating the Bills just feels so satisfying.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's
fun.
Who
do you think?
Well, I gotta hear your
thoughts.
Oh, no problem. I think that obviously the biggest rival for the Chiefs right now is still the Bengals. And if Joe Burrow is healthy, it's going to be really hard for me to vote against them. But Trevor and I talked about the biggest threat is a team that can score at an historic pace like the Miami Dolphins. It's really hard to – I know their defense is bad, but for me it reminds me a lot of the 2018 Chiefs where they were just outscoring everybody and they still managed to get to the AFC championship game because it just didn't matter whether you could score on their defense or not. They could drop literally 70 points on you. And I think this offense is just too damn. If they stay healthy, I think that this offense is going to be just too good for anybody else outside of the Chiefs, and that's why I'm so grateful that the Chiefs have an elite defense because we all believe the Chiefs are going to figure things out on the offensive side. While that's happening, this defense continues to morph into something greater every single week, and they haven't even allowed 80 points through 6 games. I think this is the one defense that can keep the Dolphins under 30. If they can do that, I think the Chiefs would beat the Dolphins in the AFC Championship. But like I said, this is all based upon health. I think the Bengals are a more complete team with Joe Burrow healthy. Will he be healthy? Will he stay healthy? That's the biggest question. So right now I'm going to have to lean probably the Dolphins, and I don't know if Trevor feels the same way or not, but that's where I'm at.
I mean, to start the year, I had the Ravens and Chiefs in the AFC Championship game because I really believe it. And I still think the Ravens will turn it. Their offense is still learning. They have a young receiver, and they've been banged up a lot this year so far. But I think their defense is getting healthy. I still like them to win that division over the Bengals. So I still think that could happen. I still think the Ravens are kind of a team that people are sleeping on still. Lamar looks really good. There's just been a lot of drops. They shouldn't have lost their last game to the Colts. That was a bad loss. But I think right now, based on new information, I like the high-flying offense of the Dolphins. And I know they struggled against the Bills, and the Bills seem to have the number, and Josh Allen tends to ball against them. But I think if it comes to a shootout, I'm taking the better offense if it comes down to them facing off in the playoffs or whatever to face the Chiefs in the Arrowhead Invitational. So I love the idea of the high-flying offense of the Dolphins going against this new stout, elite Chiefs defense. I think that'll be fun, especially if our offense has figured it out by then, which I would like to think so. But yeah, Chiefs Dolphins would be a fun one. I think that's what I would go with based on the new information, how things are looking.
And even regardless of who the road team is, we all three just agreed on one thing: the Chiefs are going to be in the AFC Championship for a sixth consecutive season, and they will be hosting it for a sixth consecutive season. I don't mind this streak. I'm just going to be honest with you, Kylie.
Do.
It's a lot of fun, and I'm glad that we're all old enough to enjoy it. Because imagine being like a 5-year-old kid right now. I'd be like, oh yeah, my older brother or my dad told me that was a great time to be alive, and we don't remember it. Being the '90s kids, we don't really remember a lot of the Joe Montana times or a lot of those great defenses. Now we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s, everyone's getting to enjoy this, and I'm so glad to be alive at this time, and I know you feel the same way. Kylie, before we let you go, can you please let the people know where they can find you on social media platforms, and just let them know what you're all about? Because obviously everybody knows who you are in the Chiefs community, but there might be a new viewer here at the Spoken that might just now be getting familiar with you. Just give them a brief synopsis of how you became a Chiefs fan, where they can find you on social media platforms, and why they need to be following you, quite frankly.
Yeah, so I grew up in Kansas City, so born and raised. It's in my blood. Been a Chiefs fan, like you said, since the '90s. Grew up with Derek Thomas and Marty Schottenheimer, and it was some rough days, but here we are, enjoying every minute of that. I'm Kylie Winfrey, so you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram at the Kylie Winfrey. I am on Kingdom Cast, as you so mentioned. I love to be the Danny DeVito of Kingdom Cast. That's actually a really great comparison. So thank you for that.
the best way possible, I promise.
No, he's my favorite character. You're totally right, though. No, he's amazing. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm on Kingdom Cast every Thursday night at 8 p.m. And then I actually do a live stream with Cole of How About Those Chiefs every Wednesday at 8. So you can find me on Wednesdays at 8 on How About Those Chiefs, Thursdays at 8 with Kingdom Cast. And then I'm always joining everybody else. Love being here. Thank you guys so much for having me today. This has been super fun. I love Lance. We got to meet over at training camp. That was such a great time. I love chatting with you. So happy to be back and able to do this again. Trev, it's been great meeting you. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Couldn't be more happier to have you, and hopefully if you ever feel like it, we'd love to have you back on before the season's over, because this has been an absolute blast as well. We don't have a ton of guests on our show because Trevor and I usually ramble our asses off and we get in the chat and we just get lost in the show, but we had to make sure that we got you on the show at some point this season, and I'm so happy and honored and privileged to have you on today, and we really appreciate you taking the time. Please tell Nick I said what's up, and to keep doing his awesome things on DJing and painting and all the things he does. That dude's like one of the most talented guys I've ever met. Give him a shout out, let him know I said what's up, and I cannot wait to hang out with you guys again. It was an absolute blast.
I will. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
That is us, Kylie Winfrey. Somebody I very much respect, love her to death. She's an awesome person, awesome Chiefs fan. Got nothing but respect for her. And you guys saw it right there. You guys heard it right there. This woman knows what she's talking about when it comes to Chiefs football. She's very diligent. She studies the game, and we always want to make sure we give you guys people that study the game and know what they're talking about. They're fans, sure, but they're going to be real with you. They're going to give you authentic takes. They're going to give you authentic opinions. And that's what we do, man. We keep it authentic here. Authenticity is key at the Spoken Podcast. Please go follow her on Twitter, the Kylie Winfrey, and follow Kingdom Cast as well. They got a great show over there. They're very opinionated, just like we are. They're fans. They can be homers at times. They can be biased, but they can also be real, man. And that's how we all are, bro. Like, I'll defend the Patrick Mahomes situation to the death, but I will crap on certain situations if I have to. They do the same thing over there, man. And it's awesome to have more Chiefs community on this show, and I'm really glad we got to take some time with her today. So,
absolutely.
You know what we need to do though, Trevor? We need to take some time with our people. It's 12:30, man. We got to get to our people to speak it, man. What's going on in the chat?
Man, let me get back to this chat here. You guys have been, let me say, it's been live. I'm trying to get some questions. There's been a lot of chats back and forth, but I'm trying to look for some questions. So I'll just start with this. We'll just go right back to basically what we started the show on. We've touched on a couple of times, but our guy Ruben DeCruz on YouTube says, a trade is needed, in my opinion, or am I wrong? So I guess we can kind of reiterate on that point whether a trade is needed at receiver or not.
No, it isn't even just wide receiver. I'm saying a receiving option, a tight end, a wide receiver. Trevor, you hinted at maybe another running back. I would rather it be more of a guy that goes downfield a little bit more, a tight end or a wide receiver. Either way you look at it, whatever position you theorize on, it has to be somebody. I think at this point, especially as our friend Kylie Winfrey mentioned on the show, Justin Watson's going to be out for at least a few weeks. He is a downfield threat, and you're not getting anything, literally anything, out of your other downfield threat that's making $9 million this year in MVS. So you're going to have to go and get somebody, a field stretcher. I think you can bring McCole Hardman once he's cut, which I do believe is going to be the case because I don't think the Jets are going to be able to get anything out of a trade with McCole. If he's cut, Chiefs will bring him back into this offense. It can fit seamlessly in the jet sweeps, downfield threat, potentially special teams as well. But that's not going to be enough. They're going to have to make sure they go and get a guy that can be a difference maker, someone that's going to be able to give Patrick Mahomes that guy that's going to be a possessions receiver, or a guy that's a very versatile piece to an offense. I think that either way you look at it, I personally think the Chiefs need to take a big swing, because I think that you're going to have to look. We keep talking about the Dolphins. We talk about the Bills. We talk about these other AFC threats. Yeah. Not even mentioning the Eagles and the 49ers and the Seahawks, a team I'm big on. I picked to make them a Super Bowl. I think they're an incredible team. No one's talking about them, though. You're going to have an offense that can hang 30 on those defenses to beat them. And I think that this Chiefs team needs to take a big swing on somebody. And as these next couple weeks go by, we'll talk more about that. But at this time, I think it is without question they have to make a move.
Yeah, and he followed that question up with, what wide receivers do you guys think fit in our system?
Well,
if you want to discuss names, we can go discuss names.
Look, Terrell Owens, I look at Andy Reid's system with Terrell Owens. He fit seamlessly, and he wasn't even really a great fit for the scheme. But he was so great it didn't matter. So I think that's what the Chiefs are going to have to look at. I think a Kyle Pitts is awesome. He can walk into this scheme and within a couple weeks flourish. I really believe that. I think that DeAndre Hopkins would fit seamlessly. He would flourish. I think Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, several other pieces out there, even bigger names that I won't mention yet because I'm not trying to give it away, could fit seamlessly in this offense and become a legitimate threat within a couple of weeks. So the question really isn't who, it's just when. It's who they're going to go, when they're going to get them. That's the real question you got to ask.
For sure. I'm going to put this quote up here by our guy, Noah Groniger. Shout out, Noah. Yep. He says, I think he was in response to me talking about maybe, possibly dinking and dunking a little more, taking the Alex Smith approach and taking what the defense will give you a little more. He says this. He says, Patrick is a gunslinger, so it's against his nature to dink and dunk for 60 minutes. He says he gets greedy, and I'm sure he's frustrated with our wide receiver corps, so he just chucks a few balls up now and again. You can't expect him to be happy playing like Alex Smith for 60 minutes. You can't change a gunslinger. I agree. And I'm not saying he needs to do it the whole game, but we've seen the greats adjust their game. We've seen Peyton Manning adjust his game. We've seen Tom Brady adjust his game. You look at the offense that he had when Randy Moss was there in comparison to when it was Julie Edelman was his number one wide receiver. Completely different offense, completely different scheme. They changed, and I know comparing the arm talent of Patrick Mahomes to Tom Brady is a two. Sure. Tom Brady's more of a system guy,
but he was taking shots with Randy.
Sure, yeah. That's what I'm saying. But those offenses were totally different when Edelman was his go-to guy, his number one read, than Randy Moss, of course. Yeah. So I think that's kind of my direct comparison. I think we don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. We don't have McColl. We don't have a lot of the speed that we once had in this offense, high flying offense right now. So I think adjusting and becoming more of a quick strike, get the ball out quick offense rather than him dance around or take shots downfield. He's going to take shots downfield regardless, and we have to do that to keep the defense honest. And I 100% agree. I'm not trying to take the gunslinger mentality away from Patrick Mahomes because that's the intangibles that makes him great. But I do think we need to, and for me, it's less about Patrick. It's more about the game, the play calling, and the execution, especially in the red zone. Patrick Mahomes should have way more touchdowns than he has right now. Where are the tip passes? Where are these things at? We're not even doing those things right now. So just taking more shots, quick shots, I should say, getting the ball out quick to guys like Rashee Rice, getting MVS off the field for one. I mean, we're not even looking his way. He's out there just running empty routes, and it's frustrating. So I agree with you, Noah. I'm not saying we should go out there for a full game and play the Alex Smith blueprint. That's not at all what I'm
No,
trying to say.
And I think that Noah's just doing a general observation by saying that because he's also right in the fact that even without Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs led the NFL in explosive plays and 20-yard plays last season.
Yep.
So Patrick Mahomes is always going to be Patrick Mahomes. He had to hone it in a little bit, and I think he's going to have to continue that until he is to somehow, some way land a guy like Tyreek Hill one day. Yeah. Another Tyreek Hill type of guy that can blow by defenders and be a big-time playmaker 30, 40 yards downfield. Mm-hmm. That guy isn't on this team right now. Doesn't look like it's going to be probably anytime soon. But the point remains that, yes, in his nature, he's a guy that wants to make big, explosive plays because that simplifies things for the entire team when you can just cut into your opposition. You can cut into their defense, break their confidence, because then everything else opens up. Why do you think teams as a whole in the NFL take deep threats, deep shots to push the defense back?
Of course.
So you can open up the RPO game and things of that nature.
And when the defense is playing deep, you run the ball and you do quick slants.
Right. So that there needs to be
there's a give and take.
Noah is saying is he's starting the conversation again. He's opening the dialogue of what I've been saying, that there's no fluidity.
Yeah, it's top down logic to my bottom up logic.
Yes.
It's you got to meet in the middle somewhere.
Right there. Like you and I are starting. Noah and I are starting somewhere. Trevor's starting right here. We're going boom.
Yeah.
We got to meet right there. be more aggressive, take deeper shots, but you got to have the guys that Patrick will have the confidence in doing so in order for the conservative side to be the yin and yang to the more explosive, aggressive side. They got to find that balance.
Well, and I think playing not only to the strengths of Patrick Mahomes, but playing to the strengths of the guys that are out there running routes. And that's where I'm going to bring in my guy, John Harrison, quote, I know they run shotgun, read options, fine, but the basis of Reed's original West Coast offense is to get the ball to the playmakers quickly. It's stressing Mahomes to do it, don't hold it, and look deep unless the play breaks down. Rice, Tony, and Moore all run good with the ball in their hands. Slants, crosses, throw it quick. That's what I'm saying. We do need to do some of that more. We do need to do some of that more is what I'm saying, and I agree with John. I think that's a good rhythm. Like I said, layups. This is layup drill stuff. This is running the ball. This is quick slants. I think Sky Moore has juice, man. I'm not off Sky Moore yet. I know he's been a buzz so far. He 100% has been a buzz so far as production.
Yeah.
But I think Sky Moore has a lot of upside that hasn't been tapped into.
Of course
yet.
he does.
We got to get the ball in his hands.
Yes.
That kid, he can create.
The problem, though, Trevor, is that I think that Patrick's actually been doing that because what we do is we focus, like our minds go to the plays of watching him just swallow the pill.
Sky Moore's averaging 2 targets a game, dude.
I get it, but I think that's deeper than what we're actually talking about right here, and just the surface of this. Think about this. Okay, over the last 5 years, the Chiefs have been one of the best, if not the best, offense in yak yards. Remember all these people knock Patrick Mahomes about, well, of course he gets all these yards. He has guys that are creating with their feet like crazy. Yeah, that's been the case. You know why? Because he had the guys that could do it. That's the difference between that offense back then and this offense. Remember what I said about how the whole funny cliche was F it, Tyreek's down there somewhere? It's because that was real. But also, for every deep pass that Tyreek caught, there were 15 of the 5-yard dump-offs he'd run for 50 yards.
Bubble screens he'd take for 100 yards.
Yeah. You don't have that guy right now.
I think Rashee Rice is becoming that guy, and we're taking him off the field.
That's high praise, though, man. We like what we're seeing from Rashee.
That role. He is that role right now.
Yes, fine, but...
Dude, he's got... I mean, let's be honest. His acceleration is top tier. Right?
I'm all for what that kid can become. I am. I'm not dismissing anything he's already done. I think he's already better than what Sky Moore's ever been. I'm saying, though, that stylistically right now the Chiefs don't have the guys that are creating with their feet, more so aren't creating downfield. So it's hard for this offense to play the way Andy wants to play or Patrick wants to play when you don't have the Jimmys and Joes that are making it happen. This is why from the beginning of this offseason I was concerned. Because I didn't see the guys out there that are going to be real difference makers. Juju was never a guy that takes the top off of the defense. That was why MVS was signed, right? And MVS was doing that. But the reason why MVS was able to do that is because he was playing his wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 role. He was brought up a peg this year because they didn't replace Juju. So they were trying to make MVS into more of something he's not. That's why Travis Kelce's had to labor more this season than ever before. Not just because of his injuries or his age, but because of the fact there's nobody else out there that's getting him opportunities to break free more often.
Okay, well, I'm going to bring John Harrison's quote, new quote in here that fits right into this seamlessly. Mahomes is completing passes at a 68.3% percentage, higher than his average of 66. It's the lack of touchdown production. They're moving the ball, just not scoring enough. So this is what I'm saying. Like we are moving the ball, but like when we get down when things get tight or things get between the 20 or within the 5 and the end zone, 10 in the end zone, the 10 zone, if you will. That's when things get clunky. That's when things get too cute. That's when we take our eye off of, or the teams double up on Travis Kelce when things get tight. They bump him around, and we have no one else that's getting open. I agree, but a lot of that is scheme though, because we're not getting these guys in position. We immediately when we schemed Kadarius open on that play, that was a good call. Yeah. We're not doing some jet sweep stuff with Kadarius, who hasn't looked good on those jet sweeps right now. We're not doing cute things with Sky Moore. The back shoulder throw a couple weeks ago, the no-look back shoulder throw to Sky Moore in the end zone was incredible, and the play drawn up for Kadarius Toney was an effective play, and it was good. That was simple football.
Yep.
Just a quick slant out, and it scored a touchdown. Like, we get too cute, and when we start doing the simple stuff, we're still such an elite offense. Just do the simple stuff, and we'll still beat people.
Yes, we've talked about it all day today. They move the ball with the best of them.
Yeah.
They're getting 400 plus yards damn near every week.
Yeah,
you saw it against the Jets earlier in the game. Moving the ball with precision, no problem. They're scoring from 30, 40 yards out. It's when those tight spots are happening, and I will say the scheme, where the scheme is failing them in the 10 zone, as you're calling it, which I actually really like. Is the fact that Andy goes away from the run game. They're not running the ball enough within the 15, 20 yards of the scoring in scoring position.
Right.
But what I will say is this, Trevor, where the greatest scoring plays in Patrick Mahomes' era, passing-wise, have been on off-schedule plays in the red zone, correct?
That's what makes him great.
Okay. Those guys were able to improvise with him.
Yep.
Who outside of Travis Kelce?
It's not there yet.
Exactly.
It's not there yet.
That's why we're seeing a dip in the red zone. It's because of the fact, one, I will give it to you.
Yeah,
the scheme is not allowing the run game to take shape in the red zone. That's true. But also when it's the pass play, an obvious pass play, there's not guy. When Patrick's doing his little turning around, running around to look for a guy, no one's getting open.
Yeah, but
McCole Hardman, the reason why he would be so good for this is not just because jet sweeps, not because he's a downfield threat. We saw, remember back in 2020 when there was no fans out there in the Saints game, where McCole Hardman starts on the right side of the ball of the play, works all the way to the back of the end zone and catches that ball in the corner that ends up being the game-winning deciding play. That guy's not here right now.
Or the shuffle play, the play where where Clyde was wide open and Pat found him on that scrambled little toss. I get that, but the counter to that argument is we shouldn't have to depend on the play to break down and Pat have to do those things and depend on guys to break free. We should have designed, executable plays that are set. We can just simply score a touchdown against these shitty defenses. There was no excuses to go 1 for 5 against the Broncos. Yeah. We should have design plays where he can go through 1 through 3 on reads and execute a play without having the play after to break down him have to depend on someone to break open so he can scramble until he scrambles around enough.
It's a nuanced conversation, whereas scheme has to be better.
Right.
But we know that throughout these last 5 years, they've had to rely on off-schedule plays, even when the scheme was good.
Yeah,
you have to have the guys that can break into off-schedule plays.
Kelsey's the only guy doing that right now. Exactly. But this is why I think we should just simply simplify this offense right now for these younger guys. You know why?
But this offense is never going to be simple, man.
But the play, I mean, dude. But we could have went and drawn up simple plays and scored those simple plays on the Broncos, though. I'm saying there's no reason to get cute. Yeah, like. It was a simple, quick out slant to Darius Toney, and there was nobody there. Like, it was a simple play. Like, that's a simple play on Madden. I would have drawn up, like, dump off to Darius Toney, touchdown, easy. Like, we just keep it simple when it gets to the red zone. We don't have to get too cute.
But we have to remember
until they become acclimated.
If we're talking about this Broncos game in particular, we saw that Patrick obviously had an interception. There was a tip ball at the line.
Yeah.
So you can't really say that wasn't a scheme problem or anything like that. It was just a tip ball. It happens.
Patrick Surtain always somehow finds a way to pick up Pat.
Then they're on the 5-yard line. It's 4th and 2, and Andy takes the ball out of Patrick's hand and fake field goals it.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so we can't say
that was one of the worst calls I've seen all year.
Yeah,
any team.
So we have to contextualize some of these. Like some of these drives ended because of just bad decisions and bad luck.
Yeah.
Sometimes remember 2021 where it's something like every damn game for the first 6-7 weeks, Patrick had like a ball go off a guy's freaking helmet or just a freak play.
Dude,
like it always felt like something was happening.
If we're gonna have Tommy Townsend do a tush push, why would we not just have Chris Jones just go run it on a 4th and 1? Put Chris Jones in the backfield. Just give him the ball. Let that man run through the line. Like that makes more sense than having Tommy Townsend pushing someone on a. Like it doesn't make any sense, bro. I would much rather see Chris Jones back there just running fools over for a 1-yard play. Like that makes more sense to me.
Trust me, Andy Reid's not off the hook on this one.
We're not even paying that much money right now.
He got way too cute in this game. But again, I think theoretically, my theory on it is he's trying to make up for what they're lacking.
Yeah.
And I think that it makes him look bad.
But simultaneously, I think it's making it harder on them because they're not going to execute these trickery plays.
Right. But I'm saying
keep it simple until they figure it out.
You have 5-6 games of sample because no one watches film like Andy Reid. He's constantly in the film room. But I think what he's seeing is like, I don't have.
He's always
got
things
up
his sleeve that he's going to release later on in the year. Again, but you would think it'd be these divisional games. Granted, I know we could beat the Broncos in our playing a C game.
Yeah.
I get it. And we'll probably see some of these Charger games coming up. We'll probably see some things because we know they're going to compete and they're going to put up points. So we're going to have to do that as well. We'll probably see some. He always kind of unleashes some plays against the Chargers. It always seems like. Remember week 1, a couple years ago,
also eats against
the wheel route to Sherman.
Yeah,
like things like that. He's going to.
I love that play. I wish they'd run that play again with like
epic.
Hey, if they still had Michael Burton or something, I wish they would run that.
Or even Kareem Hunt, dude. Those wheel routes to Kareem Hunt were
fun.
incredible.
Fun.
Yeah. So all right. John Harrison bringing things back to the McCall Hardman conversation. Hardman can run jet sweeps and return punts better than anyone on this team. 100%.
Thank you. I really think, guys, that if and when McCall is released from the Jets, I do think he'll be with the Chiefs. He just fits this offense seamlessly. And he runs that perfectly.
Give me him and Clark. I'll take both those guys back. Guys that know this. Guys that I think that would be good just for the locker room and the morale too. Yep. I think just overall. Coming into a winning situation too, it's not like we're struggling and we need them.
Right.
They would just be complementary pieces to what we're doing right now. Starcade Media. I don't like McCole, the player, and I'd kill for him on this team. Haha. That's how bad this wide receiver corps has been. I get it. That's where I'm at too, man. Like, I'm not even a big McColl guy, but I think he's a net positive 100%.
I think I was like, I might have been the only guy in Chiefs community or Chiefs content
You were
creators
big on McColl.
That was like, hey, let's keep him because he does the small things right, and this team needs that guy.
Yeah.
And yes, it's so funny that people that were like out on him before he's even gone,
all the naysayers
like,
are
bro,
not,
we gotta get McColl back. Like that's how dire this thing has been, man. I hate to be that way because I would, in an ideal world, I'd rather it be where this offense is clicking so much that even I'm like, yeah, we don't need McColl. Don't
especially in the red zone. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's a red zone guy.
Yeah, what am I saying about the defense right now? Like, this defense is so good, you don't need Frank Clark, who's historically great in the postseason. Yeah. That's because the defense is that good. If the offense was playing that well, I'd be like, I mean, sure, bring McColl back. But now I'm like, get his ass. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, a guy that has Pat's trust. Yeah, I mean, of course. That I think that speaks for most of us, man. Like, we're not like, it's not like a massive need or a want. But I mean, it makes way too much sense not to bring him back. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Our guy James T. Kirk, I like Kyle Pitts, but he's still on a rookie. I like Kyle Pitts, but he's still on a rookie deal. When that contract is over, he's going to want top dollars. Also, is he really that good?
Well, yeah, yes and yes, guys. We all do realize that at some point the Chiefs. Hold on.
Tight ends don't make that much money, dude.
Right, that's true. Exactly. Yeah. Travis Kelce right now is making like $17 million a year.
Right.
Okay. Guys, you do realize that at some point the Chiefs are going to have to spend money at wide receiver or tight end, right? It's going to happen. Like, you do remember that just 2 years ago, the Chiefs offered Tyreek Hill a substantial contract, paying him $25 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're paying MVS to do jack shit. So, I mean, look at
Would
that.
any of us complained if Tyreek Hill agreed to that deal? We'd be happy. I think the Chiefs still win the Super Bowl last year.
We all wanted Tyreek to get paid and stay here, of course.
Yeah, now, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, it ended up making this team younger and better and more athletic.
Yeah.
But the point remains,
And
none of
smarter.
us would have bitched if Tyreek Hill was making $25 million a year in Kansas City because we know he's worth every penny. If you can get Kyle Pitts for a 4-year, $58 million deal, sign me the hell up.
Yeah.
You're getting an elite talent. I'm not saying he's an elite tight end yet. But he is an elite talent. He is more talented. I'm going to say it, Trevor. Now, you may disagree with me. I don't care. He is more talented than T.J. Hawkinson. He is more talented than a lot of these tight ends in the league. But he hasn't been given the opportunity because T.J. Hawkinson had Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins, very solid quarterbacks that like to throw to the tight end. He's had Desmond Ridder and the skeleton of Matt Ryan. Like, he's never had the real opportunities to put up big numbers. You put him in this offense with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco, and these dudes, that dude would make fools out of defenders.
I think he's the most talented tight end in the entire league.
Yeah, exactly.
More than
right.
Kelce. I think he's more
Even
talented
more than
than Kelce.
right.
Kelce just has the IQ that just separates him from the bunch. And his mind meld with Patrick Mahomes is what makes him special. Yeah. Travis Kelce is in a top tier elite talent, like as far as like athleticism. He's just gifted as far as having the IQ of a quarterback because he played quarterback and just having he's such a smart player. Right. He doesn't have like the speed that Kyle Pitts has. He doesn't have the ability to create the separation that Kyle Pitts has. He's good at creating separation because he knows how to find the open spots in the field, but it's not like he's just straight up beating dudes.
Yeah, Trevor, I'll say this.
He used to.
Outside of some crazy ass trade where the Chiefs were able to land like a Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, shit.
Kyle Pitts is the number one target I would want to have.
Pittman or something like that.
Yeah. Outside of like Justin Jefferson, there's no other player receiving wise I'd rather have than Kyle Pitts right now.
Yeah.
Because he would fit this offense so damn well, man. He could run the routes that Travis runs.
Yeah.
He could do all the things that Travis can do physically. So give me that guy.
I'm all over the Kyle Pitts stuff. Yeah. Trust me, I would love that.
And if the Chiefs were to trade for him, you better believe they'd be glad to pay him.
Yeah.
Pay him $50-60 million over a 4-year deal. Yeah, sign me the hell up.
That's a good point here from our guy John Harrison once again. If the Chiefs don't want to wait until Hardman's released, Chiefs have a 1, 2, 3, 5, 3, and 6s and a 7, and that are due to get 2 more 5. The round comp picks: Juju, WILIE, trade the 7th, number 209, or trade a 6th. Then have 3, number 171 or 175.
I know some of these words.
Yeah, so he's basically talking about. Are we going to wait for Hardman to get released, or are we going to try to trade for him? Because we do have those comp picks.
I don't think that unless the Chiefs find out from another source across the league that someone is intending to trade for McColl, I don't think the Chiefs are going to just try to trade for McColl. But even if they did, Trevor, I mean, what are we talking about here? A conditional 6th-round pick in 2025?
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't have to give up anything substantial for McColl Hardman. So if you had to trade for him, it's a draft pick 2 years from now that is not going to cost you really anything. So I'm not worried about that. And again, when it comes to the Chiefs trading for somebody, They have more than enough capital to make that work. Because if we're betting right now, Trevor, and we're saying, hey, next year's, let's say the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year, 32nd overall pick, more likely the Chiefs are going to go offense. They'll probably go either wide receiver or offensive tackle. What would you rather have, Trevor? The 32nd overall pick, wide receiver, or Kyle Pitts?
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. So I would be willing to give up the 32nd overall pick to get Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, he's a sure thing, and he's still hasn't been. He has untapped potential because he's been in the graveyard of an offense.
Right.
I say that, but I mean they absolutely just balled out last week. I mean, Desmond Ridder looked like an insane man last week. I mean, and Kyle Pitts was getting open. They absolutely fed him. So it was good
Outlier,
to see.
Yeah.
They could be shopping him too.
Exactly. Right.
That's possible.
Right.
Michael Murphy on Facebook. I would bring Pringle back before Hardman. No. No. Nope.
Pringle was fun, and Pringle's also a really good guy.
He's not a guy that moves the needle, though, for this offense.
Yeah, I would much rather have McCole Hardman.
Of course. Let's see. Our guy Brian Parrott. Kelsey, Rice, Watson, and J-Mac are the passing offense at this point. How is that somehow perceived as good enough?
It's not.
Yeah.
It's simply not, and that's why I will continue to say that. The way this room is orchestrated right now from a receiving perspective, the Chiefs are not good enough. I'm gonna post the stats at some point this week. I've been promising you guys that, but I had to wait because of the fact that the Chiefs are ahead of some of these other teams because some teams have bye weeks. Chiefs play Thursday, so some of these other teams haven't caught up and played as many games as the Chiefs have. But once that has happened, probably on Monday morning or Tuesday morning, I'm going to put the stats out as where the Chiefs rank receiving wise, and I promise you it's not going to be very good. So the Chiefs know this. If we know this here at the Spoken Podcast, Brian, KYLIE, everybody else knows this. The Chiefs know this. They're waking up every morning going, okay, how are we going to improve this offense? Because we have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl here. We're not a rebuilding team. We're right in the thick of it. We have just as good of an opportunity to win a Super Bowl as anybody.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the Chiefs are still the favorites to win. So I think that's why the Chiefs are going to make that very clear. They intend to be aggressive in the trade market at some point.
Yeah, as long as Patrick Mahomes is quarterback here, there's no such thing as a season off. I'm going to go right back to our guy John Harrison, who's just pumping out the good content today. How about letting Ross run some fade routes in the red zone instead of playing Tony at QB in the Wildcat? Man,
thank you, John.
I'm a Tony guy, bro, but the play calls they've been giving him are terrible. Like the jet sweeps are not working for him right now. He looks a tad slow in my opinion, but I want to see him more downfield. But the fade route that Justin Ross has been making, it makes too much sense, man. It almost like it's like I don't know. Like I said, I'm an idiot compared to these guys that are out here running these, and these guys see these guys at practice every day, but. Justin Ross, throwing him a jump ball in the back of the end zone, just why are we not even trying it? We're trying Kadarius Throney out here throwing balls. Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, we're allowing him to do that, but we're not going to give Justin Ross, a jump ball in the back of the end zone. Like, I don't know, man. It's a strange thing, John. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I do not know what to tell you. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Lance.
I feel like
the choir stuff.
I was literally asking KYLIE that. I'm like, why? I know that he doesn't. I know that Justin Ross doesn't know the offense as well as some may do. But do the rest of these receivers look like they know the fucking offense? Because they really don't. So why don't they get that 6'4" frame out there and just like they used Jody Fortson. Jody Fortson was getting those little routes in the red zone. You want to talk about opening up things in the red zone to help this red zone offense because that's where they struggle the most. Get a 6'4" body, an A.J. Green style of body out there like Justin Ross is built like. He's built just like A.J. Green was. Throw the ball up 7 feet in the air. Let that guy go up and get it. Yeah. Throw the ball up there 8 feet in the air. That dude's got hops. Let him go and create with his physical ability.
Yeah, we got a lot of people agreeing about bringing Frank Clark back. Some people are against it. I think our guy Brian Parrott's a little against it. So there's not a McCole or Frank Clark. We can definitely bring both these guys back on the cheap guys. So there's no one or the other.
You could bring them both back for less than $2 million.
That's what I'm saying.
Less than $2 million.
No, yeah. Brian Parrott asked, would Juju take MVS money? I mean, man. I'm gonna be honest though. I think Juju's broken this year though. If I'm being real though, I don't want Juju back in this offense. I know he was good, productive last year, but Juju, I don't think that knee is right, and that's just not a risk I'm willing to take.
And he plays with one of the shittiest quarterbacks in the league. I guarantee you right now, even with Juju being hobbled,
he hasn't looked right though.
No, he hasn't looked right. But I think, dude, you know what? You ever notice it's a coincidence? Like Juju was so hobbled with the Steelers the last couple of years, and so hobbled with the Patriots. But that 1 year with the Chiefs, he looked like his old self. He had 933 yards, 3 touchdowns, helped them win a Super Bowl. Like, I think that sometimes you're a little bit more motivated to be available when you're playing for a team you know is going to win a Super Bowl or has a great chance of doing it. But when you're catching passes from Dunkin' Donuts, Ben Roethlisberger, as opposed or Mac Jones, as opposed to Patrick Mahomes, I think there's a different motivating factor there.
All right, got Noah Gruniger. Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill and got Trent McDuffie, Sky Moore, Darian Kennard, Rashee Rice, Keandre Coburn, plus cap space equal Juwan Taylor and MVS. If you could send those players to Miami for Tyreek, essentially reversing the trade, do you do it? Ooh, that's a good question.
No, I don't. And here's the biggest reason why. Because it worked without him. If the Chiefs wouldn't have won the Super Bowl last season, I would be like, yeah, I probably would take Tyreek back. But because of the fact that, and again, the MVS contract is shit. That's a horrible, horrible contract. It has not, in my opinion, really panned out, even though they still
That's the only dark side of that whole move.
Yeah, Juwan Taylor, I still believe in Juwan. I don't like that he's gotten $80 million and he's the most penalized offensive lineman in the league so far. I do think about half of those, though, are statements from the Chiefs. They're picking on him a little bit, but some of them have been really bad. But when you talk about Trent McDuffie, when you talk about these other skilled defensive players they got on rookie deals, I don't want to replace any of those guys because you see how great this defense is right now, and you see how much they're helping this team win games right now. I think that is why I would not move off of it. They helped this team win a Super Bowl. They're getting better. These guys are all getting better. It's not like one guy's good and the rest of them are kind of scrubbish, got cut during the 53-man cut, all that stuff. No, all these guys are on the team, and they're doing their thing. Outside of MVS, I wouldn't want to replace any of these guys. Again, if they wouldn't have won the Super Bowl last year, I'd be like, yeah, let's go ahead and let's go back in time and keep Tyreek Hill and pay him what he's worth. It worked, and I think it's going to continue to work.
And it was more of a long-term move to what we did and what we got back as far as. No, yeah, I mean, for me, if the question is directly to me, I would definitely keep it the way it is. Getting Trent McDuffie, getting those guys out of that. A lot of guys that still haven't even really become under their own yet. The Coburns and the guys that we got out of those picks could definitely become big-time players for us. Right. And two, on top of that, if we did pay Tyreek all that money to keep him here and we didn't get all those picks, that would also mean that the potential of possibly keeping Chris Jones here for the next few seasons that would put that away. There would be no option.
And Andrew Wiley is still probably the right tackle.
Right, and we already paid Tyreek Hill at that point. So if it came down to us getting those picks and getting these promising guys and high impact guys like McDuffie on this defense, and possibly keeping Chris Jones here, we don't know if that's going to be the case or not. But I mean, I'm choosing Chris Jones over Tyreek Hill. We've had that conversation before on this show before Tyreek was even gone. If we had to choose between the two, you both agreed that we would rather have Chris Jones, and I think he's more of an impact player on this team, and it's gone to show that it's true. So, yeah, man, good question. Though I like that idea of reversing that and doing the whole time traveling thing. It's fun. Micah Hayes on YouTube. Sup, Lance and Trev. Rumors that Cleveland wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones is on the trade block. Thoughts?
Donovan Peoples-Jones is not a difference maker. I wouldn't trade for him.
He's better than MVS.
He's better than MVS, but just about everybody in the league right now is better than MVS, so I don't really think that's praise.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he can stretch the field, so that's something. And if Justin Watson was out for the season, I would really entertain him.
He's pretty good with the ball in his hands, too.
He's decent.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's a guy that you actually trade for. Yeah. You trade for a guy that's going to come in here and be a difference
Doesn't
maker.
move the needle for me.
Yeah, so I would say if he was cut, yeah, bring him in. Sure. Bring him in, sign him to a low-end deal, give him the incentive of trying to win a Super Bowl, but I'm not trading for
I'd still rather just take the McColl route.
Yeah.
The production, we know what he can provide for this offense. That's a known thing. He also adds, Micah Hayes on YouTube, can wide receiver Nico Remijo come back from IR this year?
Yeah.
That's actually a fun thought.
I actually think he can. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he can be taken off the IR. Unless they got him on the season-ending IR, then yeah, he can't come back this season. So maybe
revisit that.
Actually, no, he was on season-ending IR, so I don't think he can come back this season. But I will say, Micah, I'm glad you brought that man up because I think 2024 might be a season where we see that man become something. I'm not trying to hype him up into becoming, because I don't want to be that guy and be a hypocrite and downplay these other guys all off-season and they end up not working out and then build him up and he doesn't become something either. But I can't help but love what I saw from him in the preseason.
How could you not?
I think this kid has something to his game, and I think that him and Patrick clicked. There was something between those two guys. I think they clicked. And
it was kind of resemblant of Albert Wilson,
Yes.
how Albert Wilson had that
Yeah.
good connection with Pat, and then he went on and did nothing
Made
with his career,
money
but
with the Miami
some guys
Dolphins,
just have
yeah.
a connection.
I
Yeah.
think that Remigio could be something in this offense, and I hope he does because Trevor and I have a funny skit we're going to do if, in fact, that happens. So stay tuned for that.
Especially if he gets a touchdown.
Especially
too.
if he gets a touchdown, and we will be using it every time. Every time Watson does something, Watson, yes! We got our own little thing we're going to be doing, so just stay tuned in 2024.
Our guy Noah says Nico over Sky. So we got some Nico fans in here, man. I look, you can't help but love what you saw in the preseason. The guy was just getting open, creating space, and
it's a results
he's
business,
good in the
man.
slot. Yeah.
If Sky was playing well right now, we're not sitting here talking about Nico, but because of the fact it's so sparse and so scarce right now, you have to talk about other options.
Yeah, man. As far as questions, I think that's all we got, though. So.
Nice. Great time, guys. Love the questions. Keep them coming, too, guys, because the conversation never ends. It's not like once the show's done, we shut off the comments.
Party never stops.
You guys keep going, bro. Like, you guys keep talking to each other, connect with each other. We have a great community on the Facebook side of things in particular, where this all started 13 years ago.
Yep.
December 6th of 2010 was when I started this bad boy, and it's still humming, guys. We got about 5,000 people in that group, and that's not even including the other 10,000 plus participants. So if you guys want to become a community even more so than just on YouTube, jump over to Facebook as well and start posting stuff, getting into the conversation as well throughout the week. So when we get on the show, you're already familiarized with what we've been talking about all week, and you get right into the comments. That's the way we do things at The Spoken, man. I don't know how other shows do it, and I respect everyone else's way, but we like to have it as a 24/7 operation, and we like to keep things going and keep the conversation rolling because it never really stops, guys. So we're going to keep that thing going, and we appreciate every single one of you guys that get in here every single week. We got a lot of new faces in here this week, and I want to keep that going, so tell your friends about us. But Trevor, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every episode, we finish off every single episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly L's or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, whoever is holding those L's deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding out for you this week?
Listen, man, I'm just keep this short and sweet. We've been hyping these guys up. We've been hyping Coach Dion, Coach Prime up. And I've been a full supporter and big supporter of them, what they're doing over there, what he's doing over there. And I think good things are to come over the next few years of him being there. But we do got to talk about when things come back to bite them and the trash talk comes back to bite them in the ass, and it's not a good look. So they did have a recent game against Stanford, solid team. Things started getting a little chippy on the sidelines between Coach and some of his players, which is not a good look either. Granted, it's football; it happens. And Prime is not a guy to shy away from his words and how he feels about certain things. So I'm sure I can only imagine what happens on the sidelines and the locker rooms and things those guys hear, because he is who he is. You got to respect him because he's always been consistent in who he is. But they took a massive loss recently in this game against Stanford. They were up 29-0.
Yep.
And blew the game. And it's become a meme all over the, and anytime you have a massive lead like that, especially in college, especially in like the NFL, if you blow a game like that, it's a massive thing in football. 'Cause it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard to blow a lead that comfortable. Ask, Kyle Shanahan, especially in the biggest stages, but against Stanford, I think a team, that they should have beat, I feel like, but the game Stanford ended up winning 46-43.
Yep.
Y'all were up 29-0, and you let them come back and score 46 points, man. So that's a detriment to honestly, in my mind, the coaching, the internal fortitude of him to sustain a lead that you're up 29 points, and the lack of talent on that defense. I do think this is something they can build on. This is only a learning experience for these guys, and I do believe, like I said, I'll say it again, I do believe in Coach Prime. I do believe what he's doing over there, what he did with the HBCUs programs over there. He overachieved. I think he's going to do the same thing and carry over here in Colorado. He's already overachieved in my mind for what he's done for that program just this season. The expectations were so low. That team was so awful that last year, the last few years, honestly. So what he's doing already is incredible. But that is talking a lot of shit heading into that game. And to take a massive L like that when you guys were up 29-0 is a rough one. So for that, Coach Prime, Colorado, do me a solid favor and hold this L.
That's an unfortunate one, but you're right, because
got to give them their due in the positive and negatives, man.
Not fun. I will tell you something else that's not fun is seeing I'm somebody that I will tell you guys this. We usually keep it strictly sports here, but I'll give you guys a little insight real quick as to a belief that I have. I despise the take that millennials or Gen X are so much worse or more disrespectful than previous generations because, talking to my grandfather back in the day, him and I were very close, and he would tell me about some of the crap that him and his buddies would pull off. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like kids today. I mean, it's just really in a different format, and they have different opportunities with technology and things of that nature, but I don't think that kids are any worse, any better than when they were 40, 50, 60, 100 years ago. I think that we repeat a lot of our mistakes and a lot of the problems. So let me just say that before I go into this, because Jerry Jeudy's an absolute idiot. And he's a young buck. He's a young kid, and he's got a lot of growing to do, and I'm sure that eventually he will grow up. But he's getting in Twitter fights with former legends of the Broncos like Rod Smith and then somebody named Stink. Getting in arguments with them on Twitter. But, there are certain players in the NFL, former players that have a ton of respect, that garner a lot of respect for who they were, the accomplishments they had, and quite frankly, the work they put into the next generation. And Steve Smith is one of those guys. Steve Smith is not only an awesome character on NFL Network, he's a great analyst. He's a guy that I have a ton of respect for. I loved growing up watching him play. I felt like that dude played forever.
Agent 89, man.
Yeah, he was my height. Okay, 5'9". He was my height out there, putting up big numbers every single season. He played for, 15, 16 seasons.
Fantasy king, too.
Absolutely.
He
had Jake Delhomme as his quarterback for a long period of time and was still putting up massive numbers. So he garners a lot of respect and reverence amongst wide receivers in particular. And so he had an opinion on Jerry Jeudy, talking about how, he at this point of his career, he's just a guy. He's not putting up big numbers. He's not performing at a high level. And he expressed these opinions, and he went up to Jerry Jeudy at Arrowhead this Thursday night because NFL Network obviously was there. Mike Garafolo and Steve Smith were on the sidelines, and Jerry Jeudy used the N-word multiple times and said, I don't F with you. I don't fuck with you. And disrespected Steve Smith because Steve Smith had an opinion on Jerry Jeudy as a football player. So Steve Smith decided to carry over his conversation when it came to what he was saying about Jerry Jeudy moving forward, or what he thinks of him as a player right now. And God, I'm trying to find it. I'm so sorry, guys, because I literally just had it. But in essence, what Jerry Jeudy did was he was dancing behind Steve Smith and Mike Garafolo as they're doing the sideline conversation. And Steve Smith decided to make things, to basically say that I'm sorry that I said that you're a mid player, that you're an average wide receiver.
That mic drop moment.
I really want to find it because this is incredible work by Steve Smith, because he got real about the things he feels about Jerry Jeudy, how he wanted to respond to what Jerry Jeudy had to say or the way he was acting, but he didn't. He became the bigger man. He took the higher approach. Here it is right now.
Yeah.
Different reaction. I called out to him because on my podcast, Cut to It, I just talked about guys that maybe have not showed up in a way or in a manner. And so the word that I've used to describe him in the past was a jag, just a guy. And so when I saw him, he's playing well. I wanted to say to him face to face, like, hey, I know I said some things in the past I probably shouldn't have, and I'm sorry. That's what I wanted to say to him. His response, Mike Robb and Bucky, was ninja. Yes, I'm using the word ninja. I'm just using the word ninja. I don't mess with you. And it was a curse word. And so I was like, all right. And then he repeated it. So I'll say it again. I'm sorry that I said you were a jag, just a guy who's an average wide receiver they use a first-round pick on that isn't doing anything. I hope today that you actually show up in a way that you haven't showed up in the last couple of years since they drafted you. So if you ever got a problem with Agent 89, I'm sorry for saying that you're an average wide receiver, that they eventually will move on. And when teams call me and asking, should they trade for you, I will say no, don't trade for Jerry Jeudy, because he's mentally unable to handle constructive criticism from people who watch specifically, can he be a wide receiver? He could be a wide receiver. He's a tier 3. Go back into the studio. I'm done now. Thank you.
You want to talk about just straight cooking somebody. And see, look, Steve Smith also went on to say, and I want you guys to find the whole clip because he talks about it again, about how he goes, I could have retaliated in a physical way, but as a black man, I don't want the world to see me and my platform embarrassing my family by getting in a physical altercation with another black man in sports, because that is a negative stigma we unfortunately have on us, is that we are just doing things that are nonsensical. He goes, I didn't want to do that. But he has to. Steve Smith is paid to give it an opinion. And if we're being honest here, Steve Smith is 100% right about Jerry Jeudy to this point of his career. Is the kid talented? God, yes. He was incredible in college. And he looked like he was going to have an incredible career, but he, to this point, has not lived up to it. So Steve Smith is just simply reverberating what we already knew, and instead of Jerry Jeudy taking that as criticism, as righteous criticism, as justifiable criticism, he took it as a personal shot, and then wanted to have this type of clown behavior that he was doing behind Steve Smith and Mike Garafolo while they're doing this interview, dancing behind him, rocking his head back and forth, just acting a complete fool. And honestly, all he did was prove Steve Smith's point even more so, because while that was going on, do you know what rookie Rashee Rice was doing? There's a picture out there, and I hope you guys can find it. It's out there, though. Steve Smith is talking to Rashee Rice on the field, and you see Rashee Rice just being attentive, looking right at Steve Smith. And I'm big on body language. I'm a big body language guy. Rashee Rice has both of his shoulders squared up to Steve Smith and is paying attention, listen to everything the man is saying. And again, that is somebody you take that advice from. I'm sure Steve Smith was building up Rashee and giving him, hey, bro, watch out for this. Use your body this way. Use your leverages this way. Do these things. Or maybe he was just giving him life advice. Either way, Rashee Rice, who is 2-3 years younger than Jerry Jeudy, was doing something that Jerry Jeudy has yet to ever do. And it is to take corrective criticism, to take advice and not be an ass, not be a jackass and embarrass yourself and embarrass your team. Because this team was already struggling as it was, and you only added to it. And what did Jerry Jeudy do in this game? Not much.
3 for 14.
Thank you. Steve Smith proved his point, and we're proving our point here, that we have a kid here in Rashee Rice that is light years ahead of you in the mental game, and it's not even close. So for that, Jerry Jeudy, do me a solid and hold this L. We appreciate it.
Yeah, he's a numbskull, bro.
What a fun show this was today, man. Absolute fun show. You guys made it what it is, as I say every single week. I mean it every single time. The chat is great. We love your guys' support. We love you guys in general, and we appreciate our friend KYLIE WINFREY so much. Now friend of the show, was a friend of mine in my personal life, but is definitely a friend of the show now. Had an absolute blast with her. Please go follow her at the KYLIE WINFREY. Follow them at Kingdom Cast as well. They have great product over there, guys, and I promise you won't regret it. There's a lot of great shows out there in the Chiefs community. We would like to consider ourselves just one of them, and we will continue to do so and give you guys our quality content, our honest content, our authentic content, because that is what you deserve each and every week. If you're going to be here, we might as well give you guys the real, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So thank you so much for being a part of what we do here at the Spoken Podcast, and thank you to KYLIE WINFREY for being a part of it. So for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end of things, I am Lance Twidwell. The Spoken Podcast, episode 238, is done, finished, and finito. And until we're back here in 1 week's time to talk about the Chiefs and Chargers coming up, because we got a long little break coming up here, guys. Chiefs get some nice rest before another divisional foe comes up. We out of this bitch.
Later.